G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by old man, short old man, Algared himself. How you doing, man? We were just talking about camera positions, and he's
That's right.
and I'm teasing him because he moved it around and it makes him look short.
When I move forward, I chop my head off and I lean back. I'm too short, so I got to readjust my camera a little bit. And I keep trying to get it right, and I just can't get it right.
I'm just being honest. He took his shoes off, so it's no.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yes, I've had quite a week. What about you, mate? Have you had a good one?
It was in some ways yes, in other ways no. But yeah, it was a shocking night's sleep though. Shocking night's sleep, but it was it was okay.
We are rounding the corner on the lull period. It is the scary time of year because, like, the audience gets
antsy. Yeah.
Well, we're past the midway point. Let's put it that way. What do we got?
Oh,
We've got. It'll start to pick up. Well, you know, we've got 324 about to drop. That'll. I think once that lands, I don't think it'll go quiet again. It'll pick up enough steam, because like we're going into that period as what do you call it, CitizenCon hype. It usually starts around the start of September, and then it just rolls up. Yeah, well, you have ship Showdown vote coming in. It usually kicks off around there, and I don't mean how do I put this? It's just real quiet. And anyone that's here knows what I'm talking about. Like if you've been here big enough and long, you know, you're old enough and ugly enough type of thing.
Indeed.
Alrighty, all right. Just getting a few housekeeping things out of the way. Got the bot to go, and then I am done for that. Right. I'm expecting a very quiet stream though. But we'll see how we go.
That's not bad. Yeah, 10 weeks. Citizen Ninja says 10 weeks for CitizenCon.
Yeah.
Which means 8 weeks before I fly out.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd put that out to you guys. This is a pretty standard affair at this point. Edification, yeah, nice to see you guys on Twitch. It's always the usuals. You know what I mean? Like the this is the funny. Yeah, this is the funny thing though. Like you start to. You got to realize this from our point of view, right? Like you guys see us, what, once a week, etc. It's the same names that we always remember because when it gets small like this, it's always the same people that we see.
And you know, and as a result of that, because we see you all the time, when you do make a comment, that's usually what the odds are we'll pick it up unless it's a really, really meaty topic or insightful thing that really catches the eye. It's the line holders.
That's pretty much what it is. Yeah. When the line thins, the line holders will hold it.
We're a thin green line or a thin orange line, depending on the color of your money. But yeah.
Right. So yeah, get your questions in. I think this is going to be. I don't know. There's something that's telling me this is going to be a short stream, but I don't know why. But that's just the feeling I'm getting. It is a real, and I've been saying this all year. And I kind of said to Algared, man, I would have said it probably 6 months ago now. It feels like the quietest period, and I always said it would feel quietest before release. If you actually kind of take out CitizenCon. From last year, it just feels like one massive quiet period.
Yeah, well, you know, I was looking at the phone, you know, the monthly report for the Squadron that came out on the phone, and I know you said you scanned over it, and I was saying it just to me it sounds like, and before I even finished it, you said it's just all polishing stuff, but that was really what it felt like. It was even the new stuff they were doing. They're doing motion capture. And they're doing its background motion capture to flesh out the scenes or to change the transition from to make the transition smoother. The law team and they were working on the chapter 11, and they were continuing their weekly playthroughs, and all of that just says. That is full on polished stuff. You don't do that type of stuff until you are until you're done. So
is the...
It seems good, but yeah, and the AI animation stuff was all that stuff was stuff I was working on. But you don't do that stuff. A lot of that stuff you don't do until you, as you say, until you're finished. You don't do the polishing aspect and the playthroughs until you're.
So that Star-Citizen monthly report. I'm looking for the Squadron one, but I just can't get it to come up. So I know I'm in the wrong place.
Because it's. I don't think that one's come up on the mainstream yet. It was the one they posted to the phone. Remember, they always post it to the phone, and a couple of days later, it goes to the.
Yep. Give me.
But it was all of that stuff that they were adding, and it just to me said, yeah, it's close. Now, I maintain that they plan to. The original plan was Squadron at CitizenCon.
Sorry for the email noises.
Are they still going there? I don't know. But I know that I'm pretty certain that was their goal. That was where they wanted to head.
This sorry to interrupt, but this to me, right? And I'm just looking at the size of a lot of things, right? A lot of them are very small now, but it tells me that this seems to be the holdup is AI. And you know, and things that they're talking about here is like group entities and stuff like that. So them actually kind of working as a team and stuff like that. But again, look how small. Like I know this is other AI stuff, but like
so much of it.
If you just look at AI, it's almost half the damn email, right? VFX and UI and narrative is all dropped down to quite a small part, and you read through it, and they're all like, we're improving, you know, things like improving, updating, etc., etc. So yeah, it tells me that it's getting towards the end.
And the AI stuff, like that stuff that translates directly into Squadron, into Star Citizen.
Yeah, that
goes into those contested places where you've got the AI groups. It ties into the way the Copians and the criminals and the law enforcement and whatever it is in a settlement you're attacking or exploring interact together. And so it's something that directly will impact us in the PU rather than just something that's just a Squadron.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned this to me yesterday, but I thought I'd bring it up again here. Just this first weekly playthroughs of the game continued to, which I think was a big one. Yeah, like that they're continually playing it now, which tells, well, instantly it tells you it's sort of more, if people are playing it and they're doing it weekly, that means it's at a much more polished state than it's previously been. You know, it's literally at a playable state. You know, so that means they literally are at refinement. They are, you know, they're going through and rounding off the corners, so to speak.
And when you're doing that, it just feels like everything else is just you're just constantly polishing and adding, and so yeah, I think it's good news. But what does it mean for Squad? What does it mean for CitizenCon? Does it mean we're launching? Does it mean we're getting a date? I know it's something that's going to be Squadron. If I hadn't cancelled the gala, I'd have been still 100%. Yeah, this is the launch of. But without the gala, I don't know anymore. It's my thought process is this was the goal, but you make plans and then you start working towards it and you go, yeah, we're not going to make it. And I just wonder whether that's happened or whether they went. The gala's too exclusive, or we can't do this.
Yeah, and that's what I said to you, didn't I? Because Agrid's repeating a conversation that me and him had like yesterday sometime or whatever, and I said that's what I said to him. I said I start to question: is the gala just being removed because of its exclusivity?
Yeah. Is it because they couldn't get the guests they wanted? Because
or again. There's been this, you know, they want to do this release as a gala, and then they've just gone, why would we make it exclusive and exclude all the people that came with us on this journey when they're literally going to be there the very next day? And I just want, like, and again, it also meant the staff couldn't be there, like only so it's essentially you're excluding all the people that really matter on this project.
Yeah.
Like the next day, all your staff are going to be able to turn up, and thousands of people. Why would you want to release it the day before? You would just roll that in,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah.
But we also know that,
I think just to nailed it on the head there. He just said, Sergi doing things that make sense doesn't make sense. Yes.
Like, I know it sounds like hitting the nail on the head, but it's also that that situation where you make plans and you go, this is what we think, this is what we want to do. And as you go forward,
yeah,
you modify them. And it's not that you're doing things that don't make sense. You plan in the future and go, yeah, this makes sense. This is a great idea. And then when you start to apply it,
yeah,
those change. So I think it's always harsh when we say, oh, Serge, you never do anything that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that they make things that they do things that everyone says, yeah, that's a great idea. And then as it starts to get implemented, we go, yeah, that didn't work. But we know that the idea of having the special guests and the celebrities and stuff is still on the cards. It's something that they plan to do later. They just aren't doing it now. And that for me raised that question: is it because Squadron wasn't ready? Is it because they've shifted? So we've just got to wait and see.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that, by the way. 3 days or less than under 4 days now, essentially.
To get your votes into.
Yeah. Ironically, our grid, we start the show usually around 6 a.m. That timer is right on 6 a.m. I don't know why, but yeah, it's right on 6 a.m. our time. Think about it. You roll back, you roll that back 18 minutes, and it's right on 6 a.m. Yeah. So I don't know why, but yeah, in essentially 4 days time, that is right on 6 a.m. Yeah, weird for me and him. It's the same time we kind of get up to do these shows and the ICs and stuff like that. So
yeah, just because we're.
I don't know. I get a feeling that this is going to be a little different this year, but at the same time, my gut is telling me it's just going to be the same shit show.
Well, I'd be a liar if I said I expect Showdown to be awesome. To me, I find it's often repeating of the same type of thing. Maybe it's just because I just like all ships, so I don't really care. Maybe because the first time they did it, the skins were atrocious.
Yeah.
But yeah. But don't forget, get your questions in. We've only got about 4.
Sorry, I'm having to ban. We got a bot spammer thing on Twitch. I'm just banning them real quick.
Yep. So if you've got a question, don't forget, just use question anywhere in the question, and it gets yanked out and shoved into our bot. You don't even have to put it in brackets. So our bot is a clever bot. It just finds a word and pulls it out.
Right. Citizen Ninja dropped this as well. I haven't checked it out, so if this is horrible, it's his fault. Right. Website changes coming your way. So he linked this, so I thought we would have a look at it. Our website team has been diligently working on enhancing the website to elevate the user experience. You've seen this previously, upgrading the community design and new improvements such as the Issue Council, Community Hub, RSI Launcher, and more. These are many steps to take much larger web initiative to improve the overall website, revenge of our pledge store, the aesthetics overhaul. I'm going to get to the bullet points. RSI homepage revamp, new platform navigation bar on RSI homepage, Star Citizen game package page update. Sorry, I won't say package, I almost scared people. And pledge store refresh. Man, that's huge. That's absolutely massive. We've been saying this for fucking years.
You mean they're going to make it more user friendly?
Well, why would they leave it to now to update Algared? It's almost like they've got something new coming.
You mean you're about to launch something?
I wonder what that could be.
Yeah. Yes, it's.
And then obviously the number one upvote goes straight back to shit show. Concierge program update, yeah, like not relevant to what they're talking about, like straight off the bat, like. Yes, they did talk about a concierge update, but that is clearly not what they're talking about here. Oh man, people have a hard time staying on point.
No, they have stayed on point. They've stayed on their point.
Yeah. But that concierge program, maybe the concierge web page, but this person is literally talking only about the web page.
Yeah, so. They're talking about the main web page and all the bits that go with it to make it user friendly, not the individual programs that they're doing for different groups and different. But
yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, Chris. I'm sorry, says Ninja. Thank you for linking that, but I think this will go under the radar for a lot of people. But that's massive. Like all the problems with there's some real holdover stuff, like things that have never ever been updated. Even if you go to my hangar, like that thing's never been updated. Like it's had little things added to it, but I mean it's needed everything's needed a drastic overhaul. The only update that I can think of in like if I actually go there, it might be easier just to do it than talk about it. Is when you go to ship upgrades. That you remember how it used to be is when it brings this screen up. That's the only update I am aware of. Can you think of any other time we've had an update like that? It's just changed. That was added. Do you remember when it used to be a list and you used to have to go through it all? That's why they changed it to this, because it was searchable, where the other stuff wasn't searchable. But essentially, it's that same page. It's never changed. You know, it used to be under here. Remember, you used to like you can for paints, but you could do that for CCUs. It used to just be like this. You remember that? And you used to go out and go. I think people forgot because it was almost 5 years ago.
It did make it difficult to find CCUs back then because you had to scroll through and it was mixed in. You know, you had to. If you just went to the store page, you had ships and CCUs and everything else just all bundled in together. And
well, I think that's another sign of the times too. Earlier this year, they're not CCUs anymore; they're upgrades.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy common sense prevailed, because I was saying for years, like, obviously this is a content creator problem, right? So shut us up if we're bitching, or I'm bitching. Algared's not saying anything, obviously, but you know, one of the biggest questions we fielded from new people is, what the fuck is a CCU? Like, it made no sense. Again, but as soon as you call it upgrades or a ship upgrade, people instantly knew what it was straight away. So their own law was getting in front of the making things simpler. And I think the only other one, Algared, as we talked about last week, was the fact that it's called RSI.com or Robert Space Industries instead of StarCitizen.com. But we went through that as well, didn't we? You know, someone owns the domain and they're not doing anything with it. They just want lots of money for it.
And as a backer, I'm saying, let them keep that.
Yeah.
Don't waste our money lining some bastard's pocket.
Oh, yeah, they'll want like $1 million for it.
Yeah, sold that.
Yeah. All they have to do is just make it starcitizen.net. You know, actually, I think you can get SC as a moniker now, or so you could just have starcitizen.sc.
Yep.
You don't need .com.
Yep.
Are you serious? Derek Smark owns it. Are you serious? Is that a real thing?
Probably would be.
Oh, that's funny. Right. That's real funny if that's the case. But yeah.
Oh, that would definitely mean you don't sell it. You don't buy it.
Yeah.
You just let that guy rot in his absolute abject misery and jealousy and.
Yeah, it's I interested to see when it drops. I think that's when people will talk about it. But you've got to imagine, like, I'm a behavior person, right? All these years, they would have heard those complaints. I'm going to have to imagine it's going to be one of the most accessible websites we've ever seen. I will swallow my words because I know I might be wrong, but you'd have to imagine that they have rigorously tested this shit. Just, you know, all the feedback they would have got from this one, like how it's hard to navigate and blah blah blah, and it should take one click, like, you know, the whole play now thing, and then we get into this where, well, obviously it's different because I have to log out. Hang on, I'll log out. But as a new, you can't even. Oh yeah, you can go play now. There we go. But this is what they're interactive with. Like, they're just instantly being told to buy shit. Not why. No, why do you need one of these or anything like that? It's just little things like that. Like, why are they wanting money from me? I just want to find out about the game. It doesn't tell me, like, and what does this mean?
Well, you did go to. In fairness, you did go to Play Now.
Yes, but again, shouldn't there be some kind of free demo? Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, well, yeah.
Like, I'm at the point now where the universe is big enough, it should, like, throw you in, but you don't get a ship. And if you want it, then, you know, it'll spawn you on a space station, you can see that the game works on your computer, and literally it says you'll be able to go into the universe, but you will not have a ship. You'll have to get on other people's ships if you want to go anywhere, but if you want your own ship, then you'll have to come back and buy one. That's how I'd be pitching this game, because it allows them to see if the game works on their computer. They can get in, but again, yeah, I think you should be able to start the game without a ship. And
problem with that is there are lots of people who would just play the game
with their friends
free and then buy ships in game.
Yeah, and you're probably right. You're probably
never ever support the development.
Yeah,
and you know that selling ships pays the bills.
Oh wow! Look, here's a new thing: standard premium.
Yeah,
that's new as well. And I wouldn't agree with that either, because the other thing is, I've just realized the Aurora's not there anymore.
No.
That's really interesting, because for the longest time that was a Mustang and an Aurora, and the Aurora is now. Oh,
maybe
God,
because they've taken beds out.
I don't know.
Is it a sign the Aurora is going to get a major rework?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. Holy shit. There's something me and you will stew on for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I've never really noticed it, but that has changed. That didn't used to be standard premium. I'm glad we came in here. I wonder when that got updated. Yeah. I was watching who was I watching yesterday? And someone in the audience asked, oh, I hope we're going to get the Revel and York hangars. But to me, it's already obvious because the Safeland ones have popped up. I'm just noticing the Safeland hangars here. So they've obviously done AeroView, Safeland, and I think whenever it happens, we're going to get the Revel and York ones, and then the VFG Industrial after that.
We talked about the hangars ages ago in terms of you build the one, you build the styling for the one, and you flesh it out, and then you go, yep, now we're doing. And you just work through the styling for each hangar, because you get them working across the board first, and then you just add the flair and add the fluff and whatever else you want to do. So it was very obvious to us very early on when we just had the AeroView, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was the middle of the road, and they do that a lot. They often build something in the middle and then go out and up. And sometimes they do come from the sides and go in as well.
Yep.
It just depends how they feel. Yeah, different approaches for different things, or where they'd already done things, you know.
Yeah. As Damon says on Twitch, no sense making it pretty if it ain't working.
Yeah.
And it's not saying they don't make the AeroViews. You want to make that look good, but you also want it to work, and then you flesh out and do all the other ones, rather than having to redo the artwork because you found something didn't work. But yeah, it's that same type of approach.
Even as a website, it's a bit weird. And what I mean by this, if you just strip it down to its colors, don't look at anything else, right? If I could somehow do it without, there we go, right? It's always had these slightly blue tones to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's always had blue, and then Squadron's always had green, right? And that's just how it is. they've themed a lot of things, and I think they sometimes it affects some of the way things look. Again, that's the branding. That's what they've gone with.
Well, and that branding works. Like, why do we still use our hexagons on the side? Because it's become part of our branding.
They did update the website once before. Like, it has had that update, but it really has not changed. Man, it would have to be since like 2015. It's been almost a decade. It actually scares me when I look at, like, we've been doing it a lot lately, obviously, because we're in a quiet period. But the amount that this game has changed and things have stayed the same. It's been such a long road. And I know those that are with us today are probably those people. You're either more hardcore and you got here last week, or you've been sitting here waiting as long as me and Algared have. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a hard one. All right, let's have a look at some questions. I think let's.
Okay, so we'll go back.
We don't. Oh God, we don't have very many. We've only got like 6 or 7 questions. All right, so yeah, if you've got any, get them in, because as I said, I had a feeling this was going to be a short stream.
Yeah, right. $49 for a Mustang is the standard price for the starter pack. It was always $49. It used to be $49 for the Aurora or Mustang. That was the Squadron, not Squadron, just the game. The PU access for ship, $1,000 spending money eventually, and so that was the base pack.
Wasn't it 45? So, oh, maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Well, 45 before the Australian dollar tax.
Yeah. But now it's 49. I think that's what he was trying to point out. Like, if I go back to it, I think he's essentially saying it's.
Were you looking at the American pricing, or did you have it set for Australia?
No, it is. Yes, it is in Australian pricing. That's what it'll be. What it is.
Yeah, and that's why it's
because that's 66. Give me a second.
Yeah, so dollary dues, not greenbacks.
I don't even know if I can log back in on this one. Yeah, because what it'll be. God, I have to go back to the pledge store, and then come back here. Hold on. Yeah, it's in dollary dues. That's the problem. Sorry, it's because I logged out. It goes back to its default. I normally have it set to freedom units. It just makes it easier for everyone. Well, more people, I should say, because we normally all convert it. But now, if I go to play now, there we go. That makes more sense. So yeah, but yeah, we got to pay a 10% GST, which is our goods and services tax. That's what GST stands for. So yeah, that explains the 10%. Yeah.
So Saturn Ring 2JW. You still need to put it. I'll pick up your question, which is, do they have people who work on the website? The answer is yes, or they used to. That was Turbulent. Turbulent have become part of CIG.
I think they still work on it, Algared. They just.
I think so I think they still work on it, but they also split into 2 parts, and one group in Turbulent is doing planets. So how well they're working on it, don't know, but they were the group that often developed and manufactured and worked the website and worked Spectrum. But the reason I picked up your question early is because you don't have the word question in your question, and so the bot wouldn't have picked that up.
He's probably just missed the bot saying stuff, because there was other questions as well that I saw as well that I wanted to answer. There was someone, oh man, it was way earlier. It was literally here we go. So the person's name was Soulful 2 stars. He says, people saying CIG will sell habitation buildings. That would be scary. I don't think they will do that, because they did land claims and there was a massive blowback to land claims and they've never done it again. Yeah, I don't think they'll do that again because of what happened with land claims. Would you assume the same, Algared, or?
I know early on they talked about, and certainly with the Million Mile High Club, the idea was that the Million Mile High Club would be something you could use as a, certainly early on in discussions, was that you could use it as your org hangar, you could use it as a private shop, you could use it as other things, and it was seen as being a precursor to player-owned buildings and facilities. And back then they were limited, so it was very, very small. Basically, it was orgs would be the only groups that would be able to get a hangar, or would be just priced out of range. And I also remember Chris talking about hangars and where you had your personal hangar, and if you were close to the central city, it would cost you more in upkeep than if it was further out, and so you could actually decide where those were. But whether that was money sinks for the game or whether it was actually selling for cash, that's what I don't think they've ever done. But I think the idea is where your habs are, there'd be some that are gold, the premium, which are close to the spaceports or close to the amenities, and then the ones that are out in the sticks, and which would be dirt cheap.
So Soulfly has kind of followed up and said they show it on in a Twitter video. Can you DM me on either Twitch or Discord a link? Because if you try and post a link here, it's going to nuke you. We have to do that because of all the adult fun time bots that basically join the channel, which is what happened earlier. They link stuff. So yeah, feel free to link me on Discord or DM, and if you DM me on Twitch, just tell me you did so, because I sometimes miss it. But I'm going through the Twitter feed and I can't see anything that you're talking about related to Star Citizen specifically. So yeah, he's saying they did a video. So yeah, we'll come back to that one.
Yeah, it's certainly worth coming back to. But
because that's a scary thought that they didn't learn anything from the land claims. Let's be honest, because that was those land claims have really shot up in value. There are a lot of people that have been buying them at like 3 to 5 times their value. And I think they're in for an absolutely rude shock when that drops in game, and you can pick them up for next to nix. And you and I have said that about a great many things at this point. You're essentially paying for access, aren't you? You're not paying really for ownership.
Even ships. You look at the ships that you can buy in game. Most of or buy on the store. Eventually, every ship will be on game.
Yeah.
I think there's only 2 ships that will not be or maybe 3 ships that will not ever be readily available.
Yeah.
The Star-Kitten Dragonfly, the Mustang, Amiga, and the Raven. They're the only 3 ships that I think we won't see readily available in the verse to purchase whenever we want. Everything else.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't agree with that. I think they will be rep grindable, but I think they'll probably be at the end of grep. You say readily available though, so I'll give you that part. But I still think they'll be attainable. They just won't be, as you said, readily available.
You won't be able to go to the shop and just pick one up anywhere. It'll be
you'll have to rep grind, but then you can get. If you really want it, you'll be able to get it.
There'll be a way to get it. It's not, and the only reason that's the case is because of copyright issues.
Yep,
is my understanding. That's the only that'll be the only reason you wouldn't be able to get it, is because it's locked behind a copy wall issue or something like that.
Yeah, if you can't actually earn it in game, that would be why. But I'm pretty sure that would have been a part of the deal. Yes, you what you're giving them now is they to buy it now, but in game they can earn it, and that's again why they were given law. Like, it's not AMD, it's accelerated mass driver, right? Yeah. It's the same acronym but a different meaning, and they didn't call it the Intel Saber Raven. They just called it the Saber Raven. So again, they're very law-based and stuff like that.
And, when you look at the AMD Mustang, that was, they actually turned AMD into an in-game company. So they actually get their name in-game or their logo in-game because it's in law. The Saber, on the other hand, that becomes a data runner and fast and sleek and stealthy and quiet.
Keep your game.
Because the driver of it was supposed to be fast, silent, quick. And so
this is what he linked us on Twitter. It goes for 47 seconds. So I don't know if this is going to give us copyright strike, but we'll have a look.
Alpha 324 is bringing tremendous changes to how you manage your belongings. Your persistent hangar is now your first customizable home in the verse. Organize your cargo, keep your gear close, and jump straight into the fray. Your own space means quicker access to the things you need. And Alpha 324 is just the beginning of establishing your home. Stay tuned for more at CitizenCon this year. Until then, get ready for Alpha 324. It's time to shape your own adventure.
Okay, so that's pretty huge, this last part at the end. That's player homesteads. That's just base building.
Yeah.
That's nothing new. That's what they promised at the end of last year. They said by, within 12 months this will be in game, didn't they? That's what they said.
Yeah.
And they talked,
everything. They said everything that was at CitizenCon last year would be within 12 months.
Yeah.
That was it.
And they mentioned base building, so I'm not surprised. But the whole, what you actually said though at the start though, Soulfire, I have to go right back to what he said. People saying CIG will sell habitation buildings. No, people are saying that, but that's not what they said. They said this will be in the whatever they said. I think they said 4.0 or afterwards or whatever. More details at CitizenCon is what you said at the end.
Yeah, I suppose it's people are saying. I suppose I'll put in his comment into a question. People are saying CIG are going to sell homesteads. What do you think?
I think Damon caught that in a nutshell. People are saying that, but people are idiots. Yeah, they might. Yeah, people are assuming that they're going to sell them because of things like land claims and that in the past. But they've. You have to assume they've learned from some of their worst mistakes.
If I have base building and you can build a homestead, then they've already sold them because people use their home. They'll build their buildings on their homesteads, on their land claims, or But I think it goes back to, and I know you'll remember it when I think it was Todd Pappy, may have been Todd Pappy said, the doors, you blow a door up on a homestead, and it stays damaged until it's repaired.
Yep. I think the other thing though here, Algared, is you're actually seeing some of the work that they've done on the interior. They've actually thought about what players are going to want in their spaces, and look. That's the other thing. That's the first time I know we've seen gun lockers before, but it's the first time we've seen functional suit lockers.
Yep. Where you have your suits on display.
Yep. Which is a big thing. Let's be honest. That is something people are going to want to do. Oh, I have that rare armor set that I never wear out because if I wear it out, I'm going to lose it. Like I just know that's going to be a thing.
So,
but the other thing,
that's the stuff I put in my permanent hangar, not on my homestead.
So you'll also notice there's a second one in the background, and it looks identical. So this tells me that it's tier 0 almost, essentially. And you'll notice that it's just essentially almost like 2 rooms. There's not a lot to it. So this is early days.
The base.
Go ahead, Algared, you're going to say?
I was going to say the base building. Like it's the first almost module that you put down, and then as time goes on, you could build more.
Yeah. Well, from what I'm seeing, again, there's not much to look at. You've got this centralized room, and if I go back literally like one frame, that's that centralized room. We're seeing down this end when it pans down here, and it looks like there's some kind of other room on the other end. It's literally just three rooms long. Look, 1, 2, and whatever is down the other end.
Yeah, your bedroom.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like logically, it's probably most likely a bedroom, but there's not much in there. Like, what are we doing in these spaces? And this is the only functional part we see. Because what's that? That's a living space. That's essentially a dining room table, 2 dining room tables, and like a lounge chair, and then there's some other room back here. So there's not
kitchen.
Again
at the back, but yeah, it's a.
Well, what I'm trying to get at, Algared, is it's not like a mining outpost. It doesn't show any functionality yet.
I suppose if it's an outpost, there'll be also at somewhere nearby there'll be the hangars, a hangar for your ship. There'll be warehousey type stuff. There'll be all of those types of.
The point I'm trying to get at, though, Algared, is that's like the space stations at the gallery. There's nothing that you really do in there. right? That's my whole point. And the other thing I do want to point out that I've been holding on in my head since we actually clicked on this. Why the fuck was
Because
this
people
linked? Was this on Twitter? Why was this not talked about in the ISC? Why was this not posted on their own damn website?
Because you don't always do things that are logical. You know,
I know some people that get really hyped about this video, and I now know I've seen screenshots of this, right? And I didn't know what it was, but I saw that as a screenshot somewhere in the last 24 hours, and now I know why, because someone found it on Twitter and took the tiny little bits out of it, and I was wondering where.
Yeah. Like, and people, strike. Day out. They had their housing areas, and people would buy their house. Orgs would buy an org house, and then the org would buy their houses around in the settlement, in the little group of houses within reach of that, and people would decorate their houses, and you could open your house so anyone visiting your shops could actually go in and check out your house and look at it. People love decorating houses. Even in Old Republic, people do their houses on. Even if I think back to Lord British's game that has the crossover crossbow for Star Citizen.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't know the guy's name though. But I know who you're
I
talking
just can't remember. I can't remember the game, but even houses in there are decoratable. Even the houses in Lord of the Rings, people love getting their houses and decorating it. Yeah, Ultima Online. Thank you.
Don't know how I'm going to get this. Hang on. There we go.
Shroud of the Avatar. Thank you.
That's the one. Yep.
But that it's people like having houses. People like having their place. People like decorating. Strike. I can remember doing quests just to get flair for a house.
Oh, this is going to be bright. Apologize in advance, but it was the only way I could get it to work. Right. Zoom and enhance. I just want to know what that was down there. That looks like it. I was wondering if that was the MPUV or something. See how it's like?
Yeah.
It almost looks like there's a little vehicle in a crate, or it could just be two boxes. But again.
Yeah. Can't see.
Oh shit! I went to mute and then unmuted and sneezed. Sorry. Yeah, just enough rope to hang yourself as usual, But yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I have noticed there is a door on the end down there too, Algared.
Oh yeah, that's over it is.
So, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, at the end where the suit locker was, which makes sense, I suppose. Your suit locker's down at the far end, near the exit, where you're going out into the atmosphere, so put on your suits. But
thanks, Axis. I'm glad I sound terrible. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I also find it interesting how it's voiced by someone we've never heard of before. I don't know if you picked up on that either. I don't know whose voice that is. Do you? Could be interesting. We could be getting some new people on the team.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a test video for some upcoming stuff. We'll see.
Yep. Look, I think the Prisoner 1000 in YouTube basically has it right. I don't think most people are fine with CIG selling houses, even if they sell them for cash, as long as they're also available for UEC or earnable in game.
Yeah.
And I think if that's the case, people aren't going to care. And
yeah, I was watching Paul yesterday, or the Astropub, as you guys would know him as too, and me and him were talking as he was doing his show, and yeah, just there was many things we were agreeing on, but yeah, one of the things that you also agree, Algared, I know from talking to you, is that they need to stop delaying ships essentially 6 months when they come out. They need to, like, you can almost directly see from when they started selling ships. When you could buy ships in game, essentially around the same time, the sales went up because you were able to try them.
Yep.
Before you buy them, and we've kind of been saying that, like, as soon as the newfangled ship comes out, just make it so that you can buy it in game. And that way, their whole thought process is though, but if I have that ship, they won't go buy it. But then a wipe happens and they lose the ship. Yep. So they would go buy it. That's the thing.
Yep.
And I don't think they realize that they don't have that. Yeah, they still, after all this time, don't quite understand their community. And I think a lot of people are like, especially the hardcore people here, right? We've supported them all the way along. We are old enough and ugly enough to know that money makes the world go round, and if we don't support them, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah, I kind of struggle with the idea of the ships purchased in game, and then I buy it in game, and I've always got it. Now I buy it in game, and at present I've always got it. But down the track, it's going to be I buy it in game, and unless I buy insurance for it, it's gone when it's destroyed.
Yep. But isn't that a big enough advantage that? Well, you tell me.
But when I buy it in real money, it's always there, even if it's destroyed. I can eventually.
Well, this is the question I'm putting to you, right? Isn't it enough of an advantage that if you pay real money, you're not using in-game money to get it? Isn't that? It's just two different forms of ownership. Like, I had to earn all that money in game to purchase the ship, right? But then again, if you buy it out of game, you're essentially just leapfrogging that whole. They've essentially devalued the in-game experience, right? And I know right now they're trying to fund things, so I can understand where they're coming from. But eventually, I almost think that's how it needs to be. You know. But it looks like what they're moving to is a 6 months exclusive window, to encourage more people to buy. But we'll see. So yeah, I don't know.
I know that Chris always wanted to be that if you were time poor, you could still get the cool stuff, the good ships and stuff, and so you could pay with cash, and so you always wanted those two things to be side by side: the time poor but cash rich, and the cash poor but time rich, and you want those. You always wanted them balanced out because he doesn't want the game to be exclusive for one group only.
I'm trying to think of another way you can do it, and the only thing that I keep coming back to, right, is you remember when the Mark II dropped earlier this year? The first time you logged in, you got it. It was rentable, like it was in your hangar for 24 hours type of thing.
Yep.
I reckon that is what they need for every new ship, but the exception should be is you can hand in. It's like, you know, like almost like a ticket that you hand in, and then it gives you 24 hours, right? Because you might not know it's in your hangar. You might have bugs. There might be bugs and issues, so you deliberately don't. Well, again, they could just re-give another 24 hours if there was bugs and issues. But you get my point, though, right? A 24-hour time period where you can.
Once you spawn it, once you call it into your hangar, you got 24 hours.
Well, it doesn't even have to be on the first day, right?
Yeah.
So they could basically go, well, for the first 3 days, the people that brought it, they get to have it, right? And now it's a couple of days later. Now, while the sale's still on, you know, like, and I'm not saying it's usually sales are a month, right? But let's just say it's it was a week. Halfway through, they go, here you go. Here's a token. You can go try it out in game now, and if you like it, then you can buy it. They need to move to that mentality where the try before you buy mentality, because everyone is like that. Like, look at the old way of game demos. There's a really good example. Haven't they gone out the window? Because they've literally got so bad now with games. It's like, well, it's affecting our pre-orders if we put out a demo because it shows people how shit the game is, right? And I can put this into a couple of scenarios right now, right? There's two upcoming games that I'll talk about briefly. Now, I'm not going to talk about what the actual games involve. I'm talking about just the pre-order type of stuff, right? So there's two games I'm looking at that are coming up: Space Marine 2 and Black Myth Wukong, right? Now these are two games that I've talked about with my friends and stuff like that, and they've both got slightly different problems, and they're both coming out in the next month, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Space Marine 2 had a massive leak, Algared, right? But my brother, one thing you know this, my brother's a game reviewer. He works for a magazine and a website, and he runs their YouTube channel and stuff like that. So me and him talk about different things because obviously the YouTube stuff. And he's the embargo for Space Marine 2 lifted, and he's told me it's freaking fantastic, but he's not sure how well it's going to sell because of the leak, right? Because a lot of people have got to play it and they didn't pay anything for it, and they'll just be like, well, why would I pay for this when I got it for free, right? But he said the game itself is like one of the best, if you like Warhammer, one of the best you've ever seen. So the other side of it though is they're charging quite a lot for this game. Right, if you look at their previous titles, they were like the $60 mark, right? And now they're asking in Australian dollars the exclusive edition, like the big honcho one, that'd probably be $100 in the States, is $150 here. It's not cheap. It's literally half another game again. It's bananas, right? And then on the other thing, so that's showing you the problems with that game. On the other side, Black Myth Wukong. All this hype around the game and all that type of thing, but people haven't even played the game since over 6 months ago, where they got to play it for 2 hours at a convention. There's no proper reviews out. No one's played it. They haven't let anyone review it. There's no review codes going out. All those things that make you incredibly nervous because nobody's played it, so you don't know what it's going to be like. And yet there are pre-orders up with exclusive items and stuff like that. My brain is like having warning bells going off like crazy, going, I'll just wait until it's out, and then it's a single-player game too, so the only exclusives you're getting are skins.
And yet that's exactly, in many ways, what Star Citizen did.
Yeah.
You know, and you get why people say, oh, I'm not going to back the game until I know it's solid.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I didn't know Chris Roberts had made Wing Commander and you know, Privateer and those things. There's no way I would have become the.
But that's the difference, right?
Backer world.
So Chris Roberts has a reputation. This is coming from a relatively smaller. They're Chinese as well, right? So there's a language barrier there as well. But they have about 100 people at this studio. The game looks absolutely amazing, but people are having these things that they assume about it that are incorrect. So it looks like it's this giant open world game. It is not an open world game. It is essentially a boss battler where you've got small little interconnected linear progression, but it's got like 100. It's like a boss battler, but like 100 different bosses. So it's just constantly fighting bosses essentially, and you're using your previous bosses to take out the new ones and stuff like that. But again, when people haven't been able to get in and play, like 2 hours is not a lot of playtime, right? And apparently the whole game is only 15 hours long, but it looks much bigger than that, right? So
yeah,
my brain is telling me to wait. But again, let's bring this back to Star Citizen. That's what we see. You see people like me and you talking about, I don't know, I put this back to you guys, right? Because me and Algared are on a different side of it now when it comes to Star Citizen. Algared's got all the ships. CIG gives us access to the ships. We always had a CCU kind of lined up, so we always had access to the ship day one to try. But I put this back to you guys, if you can let me know in chat, how much, and not just me and Algared, right? How much does your purchases and decisions get weighed on by what other people say about the ship before you get to fly it, right? Because for me and Algared, we can't comment to that because we're kind of so taken out of it. I think the only thing I could say to that, Algared, and I think you would agree, is we really, until we can get in and fly it, we don't kind of judge it until we can. That's why we had first impressions, didn't we? And then we have buyer's guides, because it takes that final kind of nail in the coffin. And even then, for years, like, look at the Reclaimer. You know, no gameplay. Like, there's still so much to come for all of these ships. You could do another one down the road, couldn't you?
Yep. There's so many options, and when you're looking at ships, like, you know, there's some ships that, and I'm a bit like you know, the Lego Movie.
Damn.
With a character that's always spaceship. That's me. You know, I love all the ships. I'm happy to have them. I'm happy to try them. I'm happy to fly them. I'm happy to crash them. Whatever.
Can I interrupt for a second? John Priest or John Citizen just said he got an email about CitizenCon tickets. I'm going to be staying with John, so I was really nervous. He didn't get his ticket to CitizenCon, so I'm so glad he's got one, because I felt really embarrassed traveling halfway around the world, started his place, and then going, all right, bye, I'm off to CitizenCon. You know, like it made me feel so shit. So Yeah, really happy to hear you got one, John. Really, really happy. All right, sorry, Algared.
Yeah, I did see that. I was wondering whether it was
yeah.
But yeah, but awesome to hear, John. It's
yeah, good to.
Now
I'm going to put you to work, John. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
We're going to put you to work. We're going to put you to work. We need help. Yeah, you're going to be on the laptop. You're going to have to get on your director's hat. You're going to have a big what do you call it? Megaphone, bossing me and Algared around. No.
Yeah.
You're slack Aussies, get back to work. Yeah. You do your Grumpy John impression.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
that's all right.
Now, what was I talking about?
Yeah, sorry,
we
were talking about the how seeing
ships.
ships and talking about them. Yeah, so I'm kind of waiting for chat to kind of come in.
Yeah. But you know, I do like having all the ships. I'm a bit like the character in the Lego movie, these spaceships.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I don't have all the ships because I just this year I just can't afford to pick them up. It's for some strange reason it has me traveling across the globe. You know.
Yeah. So I'm the first thing I'm noticing is that just reading the chat here. Most of you are highly educated, which is really great. And I mean, this is, I shouldn't say highly educated. You educate yourselves. Sorry, I misspoke there. But no, you are all really undereducated. No, I really stuffed up there. But it's interesting how you see it from the other side of the fence, because that's kind of how we do it. We educate ourselves, and then we just talk about it. That's kind of where this all came from. We just really enjoyed talking about the ships, and we still talk about talking with Hayes and Dyson and all that from way back when, and that God, Hayes hasn't been here for years and years now. Like it'd be 6 or 7 years at this point.
Easily.
So, yeah. Yeah.
And a lot longer than we probably think.
Yeah. Again, that cart before the horse thing, like, there's not much to talk about in the game, and the ships is just something you can almost always keep talking about because they're always cool.
Indeed.
I have too much ship hype to get influenced by others unless others are devs delaying my concept. Yeah, Citizen India. Yeah. Again, I'm just always interested to see other people's perspective, because being content creators, it's a little different for us. Like sometimes when you're in it, you can't see what it's like from the outside. So I do like to ask you guys what you're going through. So yeah.
So, question number 1. Because we've actually stretched it for an hour before we actually answer it. Well, technically,
did I actually say that? Dark Side Gamer saying, "Go ahead, Algared," and then I continue to rant. Yeah, that sounds like me. That definitely sounds like me. I think the most famous one that I've had clipped to me was I asked Algared to respond to something. And then literally the next second later, I said, "All right, moving right along." Literally,
it's what I put up with.
There are days where I am so cooked and tired. And Algared knows I'm tired right now, so that's probably why. You can see the bags under my eyes. I have not had a good sleep.
But even without seeing the bags, I also know.
He knows me well enough to know when I'm had a good week, a bad week,
a bad night, a bad day.
Yeah.
And we don't just get on camera and just do this. We actually do talk quite a lot off camera throughout the week.
I don't think I think we wouldn't go 3 days without talking. To be honest with you, there would be a message that comes somewhere at some point.
Yeah, so one of us will message the other, and if we don't hear from each other for a week, we're getting concerned, because it's and it's not just our citizen stuff these days. It's
especially with the health and stuff. So yeah, but again, we used to talk with the others a lot more too. But that's kind of as they've got bigger and uglier, so to speak, bigger and uglier. They just got busier and busier. But that's the nature.
For Vandalay, thank you for that super chat. Always great to have a coffee.
Unfortunately, still warm.
Yeah.
It's getting
Unfortunately,
that cold tea with milk feel.
Oh.
Yeah, I need to heat it up again.
Go,
Drink it
just
again.
there.
No,
Get that thing warmed up and going. And
I'll do it in a minute. So yeah, as you're saying, Aaron, let's get round to some of the questions then, because
So Zoseph, I like the one where Execute made a poll to determine whether we give Algared as much time as he would like, and people voted yes, and you were in utter disbelief.
It was how do I put it? It was. You've also got to realise that there's other things that me and Algared look at when it comes to analytics. Though you hardcore guys would let me and Algared talk non-stop, right? It'd be a 5-hour episode every single time. You wouldn't have a problem. But the analytics say different, right? And so I'm always conscious, like you can look at the average watch time and it's 15 to 20 minutes. And any time it goes past that, people drop off. And unfortunately, when you're playing the YouTube game, you've got to play their game.
You've got to play the analytics.
Yeah.
Like I'm constantly saying, X, when we're doing an episode, it's, I don't know, we've got enough. And I said, we only need 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not sure we've got 15 minutes.
So now I build for 10, because almost every time we double it.
That's right. He says, oh, I don't think we've got enough. And I said, enough 10? Yeah. Because, the second he says we've got 10 minutes, I know we're going to go 20.
And I used to build for 15 to 20, and then I was like, oh wait, this is a 40-minute episode. Oh shit! Like, I've just learned now that whatever it is, once we start talking between the two of us, we will. It'll be.
We will waffle.
Yeah, we will waffle. So yeah.
My mates, one of my mates, his wife says that when he and I start talking, we're like a pair of old women.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to us as well. We're like a pair of old women. The old grandma sitting on the porch,
I think the only other thing I'll add to that is the episodes you and I get the most out of never seem to view so well. No. I don't know why. It's like if we're enjoying ourselves, well, that can't be worth watching. They're too happy.
They're too happy. They're smiling. They're laughing. No, can't be good.
Well, it was like last week's episode. Like it didn't. Well, I'll go check it now. But like the last time I checked it, it was only just over 1,000. And I don't check them very often. I just make sure that they're going. Once they get going, and then I leave them.
Yeah.
What is it now? Let's have a look. That got to actually did better than I thought it would. It got to 15K.
Okay. Getting close to the
halfway through it, I changed the thumbnail because I was like, oh, this is not going too well. So I changed the thumbnail. But you can see different thumbnail, and I went, maybe it's the thumbnail because it's not that good to look at when it was small. But me and Algared enjoyed that episode. Well, I enjoyed it. I don't know about you, Algared, but I said to Algared, it was the first thing I said when we finished recording. I said, I really enjoyed that.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, just kind of talking about the game as we don't talk about the game as a big overview very much, you see.
No.
But
I don't think a lot of people do. And it's when you start to, literally, when you start to tie all the threads together and look at where things are going and where they could go, you start, it just blows your mind.
Do you know, Pissball Pete came back to me and said, Algared, tying it all together was because I changed the title 3 times as well too. I don't know if you noticed that, but he literally said, "But you didn't talk about how it's been tied together once." I was like, I just assumed you guys understood what we meant. The combining of the gameplay. So maybe I started to go, oh shit, maybe I've titled it wrong. But yeah,
but that's the way it goes. And like Dark Side Gamer says, sometimes we just want to hear what Algared says, and sometimes though, we'll be talking and I'll be saying something, you'll interrupt and say something, and it changes the shift of a conversation. And I'll do the same to you at times, and maybe not as often on camera, but certainly we'll be talking and the conversation gets shifted either way, and it's just the way the conversation goes. And
that's the nature of a conversation. It ebbs and flows.
Frustrating as hell, but
well, again, because most shows are really pre-scripted and they're written out and they're almost rehearsed. This is a raw conversation. It is a backwards and forwards, and something I will say will trigger things in Algared and vice versa, and that's just how it is. And I've thrived on that, to be honest with you. That whole thought process.
Yeah,
and I know
something I say will make you forget what you wanted, and something you say will make me forget what I wanted. But
it's just how it goes.
It's just the nature of that
That's
conversation.
why I write a
and
lot of
it
stuff
works.
down. If you ever see me doing this, it's because I'm trying to. I know Algared's saying something important, so I want to write it down so we can come back to it and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's happened to both of us in the past.
Sometimes he does that, and he says, "Oh, and you were saying," and I go, "What?"
How many times have one of us gone, "Oh, you've made me forget," and then we go, "Oh, I know, don't let me forget. I've got to say it now." You know, like we both have done that.
We both do.
Thank you, Grimshock, for the Prime on Twitch. There, appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, let's do another question because we are massively behind.
You mean our? Yep, that's right. Our second question.
Second question
from Stefan Herbert is question 4.0 for CitizenCon, possibly.
Sorry, I just got linked something by Pissed Off Pete. He linked me something. We'll talk about it in a minute.
That's right.
So yeah, 4.0 for CitizenCon. I still think that is. I always come back. Like if CSG are saying something, that is their best laid plans. That's their intention. They've said multiple times now 4.0 before the end of the year, right? That's their intention. All you can do is ever take them on their word, and you guys have been here as long as we have. Sometimes they don't make it, but that's their intent.
It's as we say, it's the nature of game development, and it's. I know it's something I've said ad nauseum, and I know it's something you used to say to me a heap as well, and it wasn't new. It was just it's the best summary of it. It's the nature of game development.
Yeah.
You make your plan, and then you work towards it, and sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
I
think that's almost. I think you've just described life in general, Algared. You know.
Yeah, I was going to say I had a class this week. 4 classes, same activity each class, worked perfectly in 3 of them. The last class, absolute flop. Just didn't engage with students. Didn't. It was just it was a flop, And sometimes you go, why didn't it work? But game development's like that. You make your plans and then you work towards it. And I still remember that episode with Kieran Davis and I can't remember who the other person was, but they did the making the space whale.
Yeah.
And it was the best episode in terms of showing game development and the planning of a game.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's probably one of the best behind the scenes of what goes into a game and what ideas and things get put in.
Probably if you only had to watch one episode that would open your eyes and give you the perspective, that's the one.
Yeah.
And it's not the most enthralling episode, as in if you just sat there and skipped through it, it would look boring as shit. But if you actually sit there and listen and take on board what they're saying, it just changes your perspective completely. And
it was different from the other live stream Friday night hour shows where they, they'd design the armor or they'd design the shirt suit based on what people were saying. Yeah. This was just the managers saying, okay, so you want a space whale. Okay, what do you want? Do you want it? And they just go describe the bits and pieces and people, yeah, and the audience is, and they say, all right, that's going to add 6 weeks. That's going to add.
It's one of those things like, when you talk to someone and they're in a profession of some description, it doesn't matter what the profession is, and their expertise says, no, it'll be more like this because when I do this in my daily job, it my years of experience tell me this. It's one of those things. You're getting to see their years of experience and you just go, wow, they have a perspective that we just do not. And that's why it's so pivotal, because it is glaringly obvious. And your brain only knows what it knows, and I've said that a few times, haven't I? Your brain will lead you to think weird outtakes. So I got linked the sneak peek from the email from Pissed Off Pete, and I thought we might do some rampant speculation here on what this is. So
because we don't have that many questions still.
But yeah, what do you guys take on that? It's a bunch of pipes. No,
Yep.
I don't know. The color palette instantly kind of says Crusader, but we know Crusader have now moved to a blue-white aesthetic, not a maroon black aesthetic. This is their older color scheme. They've moved to the new the blue and white. So my first thought was Crusader, but Now I don't know. But that you know, can you see where I'm thinking Crusader though? Like the colors of that older Crusader, even that near your head, Algared, if you just move your head off to one side, no, the other way, play, the other way, bro. See that little grill there? It looks Crusader to me. The whole thing looks Crusader.
I was looking at the engine, or the cowling back at the back, and the near the pipes and all the stuff, not just the pipes and the color, but the look.
Yeah.
And even the thin behind you just would make me think, yeah, it looked Crusader-ish, but
yeah. So yeah, it does look Crusader, but again, like chat's saying the same thing. But also, I'm remembering the thing from earlier this year when they talked about the older iconography and the moving away from stuff with Crusader from this black maroon to white, black, and blue. And you can go to Origin and you see that now. It's all black, white, and blue. There is no maroon in Origin. It's all black, white, and blue. Because they had two different color schemes and then they picked one and moved there.
So T-Jack says it's the, as a question mark, it's the new Mirai heavy fighter?
Well, a couple of first-time chatters. So Wolf Blitzer says it's the Zeus. It could be the Zeus. I'll totally give you that. Pissed Off Pete says Pisces scaled Crusader ship. Again, it could be that as well. Again, it's always just enough for it to bloody hang yourself. And that's what these every time we sit down and we talk about these ship scale images, they're just enough to piss you off. So yeah, I would probably say that seeing that we saw the Zeus in game in the ISC last week, that's where I'd lean towards. There was things in it that because with the first time me and Algared saw it, we said Crusader too, didn't we, Algared? So that, yeah, I'm gonna go that way now. I reckon this is the Zeus. You even remember you said, "Oh, it looks like a Crusader engine."
Yeah,
that was another thing that you said. So yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm with the Zeus comment at the moment. I would like to think it's an advanced starter from like Pissed Off Pete saying. But I'm going to be honest with you. If that advanced starter is not RSI, I don't want to say I'm going to eat my hat because I learned from Hater about eating socks. Not pleasant experience. But yeah, I'd be really like if I was betting on black or red, I'd be betting on RSI. It just makes the most logical sense.
Given that RSI's logo, I think there used to be one that was more reddish.
Where on the ship is that logo? It just the way you're looking, you're going like this, and you're going, "Oh yeah, RSI logo." Well, it's like you're looking on the ship.
Yeah,
I know what you're doing because of your house, but
I'm looking at my wall with all my cloth patches, my Citizen cloth patches, and I'm looking at the RSI logo.
I could flip. Hang on,
and one of them's got a reddish color in it, and the other one's just the silver. But
wait a second here. Hold on. Wait. Where is it? Here we go. Flip. Yeah, all right. Do that again. Do it again. Look at your patches again. There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
So it makes him look like he's looking at the ship.
All right. You just have to flip me.
Yeah. I flipped you.
And it makes looking more in your direction rather than
being a rude bastard.
A rude bastard.
Yeah, as we call it.
as you usually flip space or other people who have kind of
I think we had to do it. We had to do it to Billion. Billion.
Because his kind of chair's kind of tilted at his angle, and
and he looked particularly rude because he was looking off screen all the time. Yeah, I think that's the Zeus. Those fins are in line. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's just clarify. We now have video evidence. So let's go. Star Citizen. Hang on. Rex to Riches. That was the one, wasn't it, from the other week? And if I mute and no, it wasn't Rex to Riches. It was videos. What we do in space. That would have been it. And if I make it bigger, and it was right near the start here somewhere. They had a ship.
Is that it?
God, it's dark for some reason. I don't know why,
but they did. There it is.
So this is the shit we're talking about. But they have another view. is that the same? It would be up here, wouldn't it? It'd be that wing up there. See there, and that would be the. So it's up here off screen. But I would agree with that. I can see that.
And
yeah, I reckon it's that.
And if it's not that ship, it could be that the new starter, as I think poor Pete said.
Yep.
But given that we think, the Zeus is RSI, we think because they're working on RSI, that new starter ship is RSI.
Yeah, makes the most sense. We've seen that before, like when the Cutter came out, for example, and the Pisces. Well, the Pisces was a standalone, but again, the Pisces had to go with the Carrack at the time, so it wasn't. They worked on the Carrack and the Pisces at the same time. Again, they work on families of things.
Yeah, and John is saying, John Pearce is saying, in that motor there looks like the C1, and that was exactly what I said when it first came out. It
yeah,
like Crusader.
We honestly thought it was Crusader until someone pointed out it was the Zeus. We thought exactly the same thing. And again, you look at this, right, and you go, oh, that's Crusader. And everyone in chat said the same thing. But you got to remember from earlier this year, Crusader are no longer black and maroon. They're like they're blue and white are their main colors now, and you've only got to go look at the C1. Like if you bring out the C1 where it came, look, C1 Spirit. That's where all the new colors started to come in, and if you go look at images of it, it's
that blues.
Oh God, make a liar out of me. Why did that go so big like that? I didn't want it to go. Wait.
The other thing you could probably do is look at the original screenshots of the Zeus, but they, the kind of concept art, and see if there's any that have that kind of.
Well, the original Algared was just black and white like this one down here, right? But if I go this is the closest I'm going to get, right? I can't, but the default skin on the C1 Spirit is blue, and you can buy one that adds the older style of the maroon, right? So, and I can't remember the IC episode, but I would pull it if I could just like that and bring it up. They were literally talking about moving them back to being all the same because they had two separate brandings for Crusader. They had the black, white, maroon, and then they had the blue, white, and black, right? Or essentially the blue to maroon. Right, and they have basically come out and said this is what they want the Crusader to be. They want it to be the blue. So those maroon colors
are gone.
And
you can see them developing technically the game's not out. Technically, even though we're kind of in game and we're seeing the stuff, it's not. And they're still working on what the design of those brandings are going to look like. And I still remember when Telstra, our main telco in Australia, was going through an image change, and they wanted to get rid of the whole imagery. And the ad people said, "No, you've got to keep the orange." They had this ghastly orange, and their advertisers agency said, "You've got to keep the orange because that is your brand." And even now to the day, they've still got that. There's still many of the new phone booths or stuff they put out. They've still got the orange, but you can see they've changed it. And you can see that the color is the branding. And
so the other thing I'll say here, so I've been linked this by I can't quite make his name on Twitch. Sorry, my eyes are blurring. I've got water in my eyes.
Rami Noodle.
Yeah, sorry, but he's saying it doesn't look the same. Yeah, I would agree, but you got to remember one's a concept and one's the actual release. And if we go back to the video here, we now know that this is the Zeus. It's got a double wing there on the right-hand side. There's a double wing there as well, but it is actually different, right?
Yep.
So what I'm saying is this changes. And if I go back in the video a few frames, right? So if we go back, where was it? I'll let it play.
Yep.
Wish they hadn't intercut it with talking. That would have been nice. But there, look. There's the Zeus cockpit, there's the gun, there's the pointy bit, right? If you go look here, pointy bit, gun, cockpit, right? So again, there's enough there that you can say they're the same. So all we're trying to get you to do is see the possibilities. Now, I know you're saying that you think it's Crusader. That's totally fine and valid. We're not shooting you down. We're just saying with our expertise, it's pointing us to this not
Yeah.
not to the Crusader.
And it's not necessarily saying which variant of it is.
Yeah.
But the evidence does appear to be that it is the Zeus. Now, how does that work with the engine thing? And I know someone who was at Destroy was saying, not Destroy. Destroy said the wings in the one are at 90 degrees, whereas in this one they're angled. So in the sneak peek, the wings are 90 degrees, and the other one they're angled. But what you were saying, and even when you pulled up the image from the video, is that that we're seeing what we're seeing is off screen, and we know that they change things. The design gets always changed slightly.
Here's another one, right? Now you try and tell me that's Crusader now, because that all of a sudden looks Anvil. So what we're saying is this is clearly a work in progress, and it's something new that we haven't seen before, right? And again, we know that the Dorito ships, as we call them, this is our first smaller Dorito ship from RSI, right? We know it's a newer design.
Yep.
It's going to have things in it we haven't seen before.
As Chad is saying, several in chat saying, we're overthinking it, or we're just trying to get to agree with them.
No.
Or get them to agree with us. And in a sense, there's always an element of that.
We're just trying to explain. You can disagree with me to the cows come home. That's totally fine. I'm just trying to get you to see, as always, I'm always trying to get you guys to see outside your little comfort zone, outside your box.
Yeah.
But
it's not necessarily trying to make you agree. It's trying to give the evidence or reasons why we think something. And, we could be wrong.
I'll go back to the very first thing, Algared. We thought it was a Crusader.
Indeed.
Today, I said, that looks like a Crusader. But then as I remember things and I bring other things back into...
And then you start to go, hang on, what was the last thing we saw? And then you go to the Zeus, and when we first saw the Zeus in that video, we went, oh, that's Crusader.
Yeah. And we know the Zeus is coming at CitizenCon. Come on, we know it's coming. Right? We don't know what this other ship is. That'll. And by the way, I do want to point that out. Whatever that smaller ship is, as what did Pete call it, or we call it an advanced starter. Yeah. That's AIE. So they wouldn't be showing AIE off yet. They'd be showing CitizenCon.
Yeah.
This is again. You connect all the dots. That's what me and Algared do. This is a Zeus.
Yeah. Our boxes are little execute. I don't get that. Okay.
Boxes? Yeah, I don't get that reference either.
So sorry, Dark Side Gamer. Didn't follow that. JB has a question. Question number 3. Have you heard of black kite and the methods they use to hunt in Australia? No, I haven't. Why are your animals like that? Also, Sitcon mystery ship in the sneak peek. No, we think that's not a mystery ship. We think it is Zeus.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't heard of black kite. I haven't seen that, and our animals are like that because it's Australia.
Sorry, what?
Probably they can't kill you.
What was that about? Black what?
JB says, have you heard of black kite and the methods they use to hunt in Australia? No.
Never heard of them.
And then why are your animals like that? Because they're Australia and they probably try to kill you. I'm guessing. All right, Citizen Ninja, we've done. Zorkith says, when do you think 4.0 will be released to live? When it's ready?
Yeah. Again, it was similar to the previous question. They're intending 4.0 for CitizenCon, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, at bare minimum. Darkside said, you had said you were trying to get them out of their boxes, out of their little boxes.
Ah, right, yes. I'm just trying to get you to think outside your box, because a lot of people this is a psychological thing, right? If it's like the whole sky is blue concept, right? If I'm telling you the sky is red and you've always known it's blue, people have a resistance to changing their mind. And I'm not ever trying to change your mind. I'm just saying, what if, right? Open your mind to asking other questions, because unless you are asking yourself questions, you're not learning. And once you start closing those boxes and sheltering yourself, you become narrow-minded. And one thing that Algared you'd have to agree with me on this, Algared. with all the discussions that we've had over the years, it's definitely opened mine and your mind. Like, we've learnt things on how to be open, and it's totally changed our perspective. Like, there's not a single Inforunner that hasn't changed another Inforunner's mind.
There's one thing I always say: it's okay to be wrong. I've always said, you know, from early on, I used to say, look, I don't mind being wrong. This is what I think. I don't mind if I'm wrong, but I want to share the thinking and then see that debate and that process worked out, because
doesn't mean we both don't like being wrong.
No, don't like being wrong, but when you're wrong or when you make mistakes and things, that's where you learn.
Yeah.
If you're not learning, if you're just sticking with what you know. Yeah.
It increases your perception, and you learn. Yeah. Being wrong is when you learn, essentially. Yeah, that's how I'd put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so CitizenCon for 4.0, all we know, 100%, we know they're going to do it for this year. That's what we're aiming for. Does it mean they'll make it?
Yeah.
No. But that's what they're aiming for. Will it be CitizenCon? Will it be IAE? Will it be the end of the year?
Yeah.
Will it be next year? Can't tell you. All we know is that they're aiming for this year. Our best guess would be, given that the gala's been moved, but they want something big for CitizenCon, and I would imagine that, to me, it seems that 4.0 would be the thing they'd push for. But
let me put it this way: I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility, but I would be extremely disappointed if we have to wait a whole nother year for it to release. I would be. Yeah, I just don't see it with the things that are out there now. Paul yesterday on his stream literally said that he reckons it's CitizenCon next year now.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that'll be the case. But I just don't see it. I think I'm more evidence is pointing to sooner rather than later. They did always say, though, Algared, didn't they? And they've said this multiple times. They'll release it when it's ready, and they won't hold it to a certain period of time. They also said that. So I just can't see, though, how that makes financial sense anymore as well.
No.
You know, the most sense does say release it around the holiday period so you can maximize sales. And I think the other thing that you would agree with some real big behemoths coming next year, like Grand Theft Auto 6 and stuff like that, it'll just get, if it's not out before Grand Theft Auto 6, this thing's just going to get it'll get swallowed and lost. So it's really got to come out before Grand Theft Auto 6, and we know that that's what, September or October. I know they released a rough date for it next year, so it's you know, again, looking what,
let's hope.
Not to shit on Paul, right? But you wouldn't want it to be CitizenCon next year because of what you and I just said about Grand Theft Auto.
Let's hope that Grand Theft Auto is a dog's breakfast, but it's either release broken, so everyone hates it, or
that's not.
Don't release it broken, and it gets delayed because it's.
Well, I don't wish that on anyone. I wish games are good for everyone. So I'm a bit different than that.
That's why I say, it's released later.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but I just don't see it going well if it's out after Grand Theft Auto. And they would know that. But Grand Theft Auto is such a behemoth. It's just gonna, there are people that are literally giving it the only games that are coming out are games that weren't going to do well anyway, and most bigger games are giving it a 2-week berth either side. We saw the same thing with, and I'll be honest, Starfield did it as well. There was games that were coming out 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, but there was nothing around Starfield. It was just it's just going to kill everything.
It just had such a big press window. It just went And thank you for that. Subscribe at tier 1. Arcane Danger.
Thank you, mate.
So
appreciate it. 6 months.
Subscribe for 6 months. Awesome. Fantastic. Always appreciate it. That is a Twitch, isn't it? Yep.
Yes, that's a Twitch one.
So I picked that up on the main screen, not my side screen.
He is learning. We are educating the old man. Old dog does know new tricks. Yes.
Yep.
Right. Next question, because I actually really can't. What are we up to, Zavith? Yeah.
Zazef, do you plan to do a stream test perhaps a day before CitizenCon? Probably.
So both Algared and I will be in the UK.
From the 15th.
Well, you're.
Yeah, I arrive on the 15th, so.
I arrive on the 10th.
Yeah.
Well, I leave on the 10th. I don't arrive. I'll probably arrive the next day.
No, you probably arrive on the 10th because they're a day behind us. But
yeah, they are slow, those Brits.
Like,
I am gonna get so beaten over there. I just like all the jokes because I don't know. I don't know how they do banter. Me and John get on really well, so I'm gonna assume they do some form of banter, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're used to our sarcasm over there, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll definitely be doing some tests on the ground. Someone has been kind enough to lend me a laptop, so we'll essentially I'll be able to take what this interface is here that we have. It's just that it will be on like a normal webcam. We won't have the fancy backgrounds and stuff like that. So we'll be roughing it for like a month. So there'll probably be 4 episodes you see like this, and then some recorded ones that we're probably going to do in advance. And then we might even do some while we're there.
Yeah. Red Snare says, slow? I'm already here, mate.
Yes, that's what I mean. But you're behind. You're a day behind. We're from the future, bro. Got the lotto numbers?
We're you know, it's Marty and the Doc. You know, we've got to go back to the future.
Yeah. I'm Marty and he's Doc. You can tell, right? He's the one with the crazy haircut. Yeah.
What haircut?
That's what
so, you must have the crazy haircut. You hide it under the hat.
Yeah. Mad scientist.
Yeah. And then Journey Mendoza says, "We are God with banter." I'm from the UK.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Yeah, look, I think the greatest UK shows, you know, Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister, Hello, you know, all those great, you know, Monty Python. If you like those, you'll like British humour. If you like British humour, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Do you know, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I'm going to talk about it. During the week, I watched a YouTube video that talked about the Australian accent, and it was by a guy from Canterbury, and he used to do the Antique Roadshow on because that comes here obviously as well. So you know what I'm talking about. I don't know the guy's name, but he was talking about the Australian accent, and it turns out they believe when it first appeared it was the grandkids of colonists in Australia, but what it was because it's essentially a melding of all the British accents. Even though in a car now you can drive half an hour and get to a different accent, back then they only lived that far away, but they would never ever meet.
Yep.
And then what happened was they all got put together and moved to one place on the other side of the world, and then so their kids' accents mixed together, and the Australian accent is a mixing of all the British accents. I think that's kind of pretty plausible, really. But who thought it would sound this hot and sexy? And
yeah, it's the thing with Australia and New Zealand is that they often say New Zealand is the closest to Victorian English.
Yeah,
and Australia's very close by, and at that isolation aspect tied in, it's a bit like Melbourne. The city of Melbourne is often said to be more Greek than the Greeks.
Yep.
And Melbourne has a larger Greek population than Athens, and so, but people often stick to what they knew or what was, and then but it's no longer like that. So,
well, when you how do I put this? When you hear people that would almost traditionally disconnect you, so when you see like a Greek person or an Asian descent type style person, and they've got that really Aussie accent, it throws people. And another example that I know that would be more relevant to me and you is when you see someone speaking French, and they're like Asian or they're African. Like it's really like the world has become this smaller place now because we've all been able to travel and go different places. And I can only imagine what it's going to be. Like, look at how English essentially is, like the language I'm talking about here, is essentially taken over the entire thing, right? And as it goes by, you're going to see other languages drop off, right? So like we're already seeing like the 3 big ones they say now are going to be English, Spanish, and Mandarin just because so many people speak Chinese, right? But Mandarin, like English is a very hard language to learn. Mandarin is considered the hardest, right? So they reckon over time it's going to be, so Spanish is the easiest. They actually reckon it's going to all pull towards English because it's the middle thing. See what happens, but I reckon that's going to take, I'd have to imagine it's going to take like 1,000 years to squish out all other languages. But I'm not going to say that we're all going to speak the one language. I'm just saying as the world gets smaller and smaller, it makes the most sense. We're already seeing, well, look at Latin. There's another example, another dead language. And, you know, nobody speaks Egyptian anymore. You know what I mean? Like as the areas got smaller, even in China, you're seeing it now. Like, that, do you know they have, much like England, how I said you could drive half an hour and there were different accents, they had different dialects that close to each other. And now in China, they're down to two. They've got simplified and traditional. So theirs is all starting to merge as well.
You even look at Australian Indigenous languages in Australia. There are about 250, maybe 300 Indigenous languages in Australia.
Yep.
A lot of those are dying out.
Yep.
And by dying out, it's just that they're not used. They get the smaller communities, the smaller languages get morphed into the more a larger, more common.
Morph is probably not the right word. I would say it evolves. Because I'm thinking about what Pissball Pete just said there. He goes, English is the prana of languages, much like the crown, it takes the best bits. Well, essentially, you can go back and look at Roman. We use Roman characters and Latin characters like that, and so does German, right? So all those areas in Europe, like essentially the main characters still exist today. They've just all kind of, even Russian, right? They all use that same character set. They just put them in different orders.
I'm picking up the more as a linguistic idea that the languages get morphed, they get drawn into the others, they get subsumed. Either people just start using the neighbouring larger language for one that's used more commonly, and so that small language just stops being used. Once a language stops being used, then it becomes a dead language. So when a language is no longer being used and it's no longer changing and evolving, then it's a dead language.
Well, again, the prisoner on Twitch points out Aric number system. We don't use the Roman number system. It's kind of like what Pissball Pete said. We grab the best bits. So we grab the numbers from Arabic, but Arabic language is still around today. They're written in different characters. They're, you know, you don't get many that are outside the English. When I say English, I should say English type font. I don't know what else to call that. The letters is what I'm talking about here, right? So we have the letters of the Latin and the Romans and the, you know, Germania and all that stuff. But then we have the number system of the Arabs, and then we've converted it, but we don't use the Roman. You know what I mean? So we are grabbing the best bits and keeping it, and it's the same thing. If you my mum has audio recordings of my grandmother, right? My great grandmother, I should say, right? And she said to me, right, there's a photo that a lot of the family members have. It's a photo of me when I was 3 days old with her, and she died before my first birthday, right? And my mum always says, your great grandmother and you wouldn't have been able to talk with each other because her English was so different, right? And I know you can relate to this because you're a teacher. You would have read Shakespeare, right? This is only 400 years ago, and listen to how space.
I've read Chaucer.
It shows the evolution.
I've read the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle.
Yeah, you're way more into history than I am. I know you, but my mum, my mum pushed history into me. So again, I think that's why we're talking about this. But yeah.
If you were to read Old English, you would not understand it.
Yeah.
If you read Middle English, you look at the spelling and you go, I don't understand that. But you read when you actually verbalize it, and you go, oh, that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Shakespeare's modern English. It's just using weird words. But
yeah, like modern. The instead of they and stuff and them and look, the point we're trying to get to is that it's going to evolve, and it's just interesting. Oh, we got so off topic here.
We are so off topic. What was the question we were talking about? We were talking about, do you plan to stream tests on the same?
Yeah, nice job there, Xanath. It's all Xanath's fault. We'll just blame him and move on. Yeah.
So yes, we will, and yes, I think we appreciate British humour. Well, I do. So
that's because you are.
Yeah. Suck it up.
Yeah, not even slightly biased there at all.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, when I'm going into the UK, no, I won't be biased at all. When I'm trying to get back home, yeah,
I'm an Aussie. Yeah, let me back in. No, I kicked him out. He's not a real one. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Jodamo,
Yeah.
do you think the hangars coming in 3.24 will see the PTV rework? They showed us one on the new ships. Pretty sure they talked about it 2 ship showdowns ago. Yes, and that was very badly read at the end. I was doing a James T. Kirk.
They did talk about it because besides Paul and myself and a few others, we were really pushing it for the skin that year, and they just totally nipped that in the butt and said, no, we don't want to do that as the thing. So they basically took it out of the running for Ship Showdown because they heard us talking about it. But yeah, and they promised a skin within 12 months. It's been 2 years. I did actually put that up on Twitter this week, but I'm sure it. Like, I'm not the biggest Twitter posterer, so it probably fell totally flat. But let's see if I've actually got a reply.
I'd be happy, even if they didn't give us a brand new skin for the PTV. I'd be happy if they just made the skins that it's got actually work. Because you remember they had the cherry skin and the military skin and the black skin and the half a dozen other coloured skins.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have them working.
I don't even know if we got... No one's even replied to my post. It's had like 300 views. That's... I don't know if that's good or bad, but like this is what I said. I just said, so 2 years ago we were promised a free PTV skin. Can we kindly get an update, Rubber Space Industries? So... Yeah. I don't know. That's one of the things I'd like to know during, like, an update to the PTV. Yes, we've been busy, haven't been got around to it. We'll get to it hopefully within the next 2 years. Like, that's all I want to hear. That type of thing.
Silence.
Yeah. Fortunately, in this instance, Algared, silence is not golden in this instance.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Next question.
Prisoner 1000 says, I could be in Are You Being Served? Not sure. I thought that was a bit of a risque. Double entendre galore show. A bit like a Low Low, though. Low Low was a bit like that, too. Van Sel has a question. Hopefully they improve CCUs to include a filter for war bonds. Or could they use this opportunity to remove CCU game? And I think that's going back to the changing of CCUs just being called upgrades.
Yeah,
I think
maybe you'll update it from CCU game to upgrade game. I don't know. You'll have to change the name.
Upgrade your game.
Yeah, upgrade your game. Upgrade your ship.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they're going to remove CCUs yet. I also think that would come with a massive... they've said they're going to let us know ahead of time, so they'll probably go... I'd have to assume they're going to be, 6 months window. You'd like to think they're going to say, like, within the next 6 months, you need to think about implying your CCUs.
Well, they told us that before they say it was.
That'd also be
live.
That'd also be a big sale, so you could maneuver everything into that final form.
Yep. Yes. I'm aware where people ask, just so prisoners saying, Are You Being Served was a comedy being placed in a department store, in fact, placed in Grace Brothers. And it was just for different departments just going on their stuff. So yes, for those who don't know what Are You Being Served was, that was a British comedy just picking up that antics in a grocery in a clothing department store in Grace Brothers.
Yeah.
But yeah, the CCUs, I think that they have told us they will go away. They've told us eventually even the buyback will go away, and you'll have to lock in your fleets. You'll have to work out what you're going to have, and yes, Mr. Granger. I can't remember the other characters, but yes, the Colonel and Mr. Grace. I think I'd be old Mr. Grace. Would probably be closest to old man Hurston. But yes, anyway, getting distracted by chat.
All right, Oddballs Hobby Channel says, question, if the Aurora gets a rework, what would you like to see changed with keeping in mind that the price and starter role shouldn't change? Okay, so you got to think about this from things that have changed since the Aurora's era. I think the first thing for me that is glaringly obvious on that ship is the docking collars. I don't think they are like that anymore. I think that is a really big departure from the Constellation as well. Would you agree with me on that? I think we could agree on that.
Yeah, I think the idea of those doors or docking collars on the side, they were certainly done as doors and docking collars, and it was so the ship could dock to other ships, and they certainly build the idea of it being able to dock to a Connie.
Yeah,
that's why I bought the Connie and then bought an Aurora.
So the last two for me, so we'll go through one at a time. The next obvious one is probably the bed.
Because we know the beds have changed.
Yeah. So what is that worth still having on the ship? And then if they were to remove that, you'd start to notice that they'll probably remove them from other ships or stuff like that because they're main features in certain ships. So like the Mustang Beta, it's a big thing.
Yeah. And back then, the bed was seen as a real advantage because it meant you could log out in game your ship, and then when you log back in, that's where you logged out was where you still were. Whereas if you weren't, you kind of ended up back at your space station.
Yeah. So I think that would be something when they talk about the beds and stuff is you might see it something like that at CitizenCon or something like that. But if it came with an Aurora rework, that was what I would expect. And finally, the carry-all box. Now, I think that would be more than likely now not a box anymore. It would be more like a cargo grid system.
Yeah. Well, a carry-all box was a cargo crate. It was just the carry-all was just the brand of that cargo crate.
Yeah, well, it's essentially changed, hasn't it? So essentially, you would just take a cargo crate and it snaps to the cargo grid under the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no, and if you look at the one that's in the Mustang, that works totally properly now. It is like a shelf that you essentially put 4 boxes on and it closes up.
And the one on the Mustang, certainly the original Mustang, the Mustang Alpha, used exactly the same bracket that's on the
So the Aurora would either get the same treatment, but I don't think it would because it can't lower down like the Mustang one can. So it seems to be, to me, now that it would be more like a box that you slide in and pop on or something like that, right? So out of all the ships, of the smaller ships, it's probably the one that would need the most updating.
Well,
now that's not
one of the first 5.
Yeah. And then the other part of it that we haven't even got into, and this is where we all start to go off into speculation, is what other things they would add to that, right? So things like we've seen over the year, like the wings and stuff like that. Do they go to that level, or do they relatively keep it the same? But as I said, you look at some of like the cargo dock's an obvious one, the bed's an obvious one, and the box, right? Now, if you think about what that does to the ship, the dock changes its shape, the bed is totally internal. It's really the carry-all box because you have to make clearance, right? And as soon as you're making clearance, that starts to affect where the bed is. You see where I'm going with this, right? That's the biggest factor is how they make it clear. Do they totally restructure it? Because you know how it's got like 2 wings, right? An upper and lower wing. Do they make it all of a sudden that instead of the cargo going underneath, it goes 2 boxes on each side? Like, I'm just trying to, again, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do.
Do you because you get back to the bed, end up with being able to have more cargo in that middle section, right? You know, so
what I'm trying
different.
What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say is think outside the box. How would you change the Aurora? How would you make it more functional, right? And my brain just went to, well, if you made the wings slightly further apart, you could just have 2 boxes that go on each side, essentially either side of the bed. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the whole thing can just drop down lower. Because one of the other things is it's got stairs to get up into it. That's something we don't see. Like a lot of the other ships just don't have that. You just walk straight on. You know, 100i, the cutter's got a ramp. You get where I'm going with this. Like, would you... I put that back to you, Algared. If you remove the bed off the Aurora, what do you replace it with? Do you make it so that it carries more cargo? Do you make it so it carries a vehicle? You start to see all the impacts of this really quickly.
Do you give it the ability to access components internally, so that as a small ship, it's suddenly better than others?
1 second, I've just got an idea.
You know, so there's a whole host of things you could do. But one of the things that was always key to the Aurora was the fact that the bed was there, that you could log out and log back in. And if bed logging is changing so that it's no longer the case, then the Aurora really, the key thing for the Aurora changes. And so what do you do with it?
Do you make it more like this?
Yeah.
So
do you make it so?
This is the little thing from June.
Yep. Well, I have seen, you know, that people did the had the idea of having the wings come out on the Aurora, so it came up.
That's why I grabbed
like
this
Dragonfly. Yeah.
But that idea actually came out at exactly the same time that June came out, so it was heavily inspired by this. And even if you weirdly take the wings off this and just look at the body, that's very similar to the Mustang.
Yeah.
You know, like the swept at the back and the cargo folds up into the back and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see an Aurora rework. Is it the first one getting the Mark II treatment? Let's just say that.
Yeah. Is it you know, is the, you know, and it also gets me thinking, is that new advanced starship, is that the new version of an Aurora? Again, don't know. It could be a totally new ship, could be a Mark II, Mark III. You just don't know.
It's too big to be that. It's 23.6 meters. It's
yeah.
big.
It is as we've always said, an advanced starter.
Yeah.
But there's so many things. You know, if you're looking at the Aurora and you're doing a rework on the Aurora, you almost need to toss out what you've got and start from scratch, and then you go, okay, what things do I want to keep? And yeah, Zeus says the Aurora CL has a much more internal cargo storage right now. Yeah, it does, and that's partly because the Aurora CL was always supposed to have the larger cargo crate. I know when they changed the Mustang, they actually gave the Mustang the same cargo crate as the CL originally.
I think you'll probably see that across the board. Let's be honest. If they did a new Aurora, they might have like one, maybe two variants at most. And if you have that $25 Aurora MR from back at that Christmas special years ago, man, you're probably getting a massive upgrade. That's all I'm going to say.
Why do we need the Aurora ES?
Yeah.
Like,
what was it? A leather seat. I think that's the only difference. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, one of them was literally a leather seat. One of them literally had less cargo. The Aurora LN is the only one that really matters because it had extra 2 hard points and an extra missile, and it got all the extra features of all the others. It was designed, the whole thing when they did that was to show you how customizable ships were. Yeah. If
you look at the Auroras now, even the LN and the LX are different in terms of the missile hardpoint, and the LR and the LX and the MR are different because of the hardpoint. So there are slight differences all the way down in terms of hardpoints, and which makes them all different. But it's a nightmare of a ship in terms of many.
And I think you can see the progression of that would be the 300i when they sold the coffee machines and stuff like that. So they've definitely progressed, but now I sit here and kind of look back. It makes a lot of sense to rework the Aurora. It really does. Like you said, the original 5, it probably, and considering it's most people's first ship, right? Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It really does.
Yeah. If people say that the Constellation is going to be a good ship because it's Chris Roberts' favorite, the Aurora has to be an equally good ship because it's the one that, A, it's in the same company, but B, it's the ship that most people own.
Yeah. It's going to be that, and it's going to be like probably, what's that default ship that, you know, say it starts up and there's 6, 7 different starters you can pick from, and that's the one that's the default. Some people are just going to hit play. They're not even going to care. They're just going to go straight in. But yeah, like, and I even start to look about at other ships now, like are they going to I don't think the Mustang needs it as much, but again, the Beta would be the one that I'd question there.
I think with the beds going, the Beta dies.
Yeah.
With logging going, the Beta's dead. same as the Aurora is
Well,
basically dead.
Essentially, what have kind of alluded, because there was a question that someone came, Wolfblitzer said, question, what do you mean about bed logging changing? So they've essentially come out and said that they're going to change how beds work because they want to move away from you have to go back to a bed to log out. They just want you to log off, and when you log back in, you'll respawn, because they are now realizing the time it takes to do this. And there's diminishing returns to making people walk all the way back to log out of a bed and stuff like that. People just don't have the time. They're realizing as they get into the gameplay that it's just taking so long to do some of this stuff.
But the original idea was if a ship had a bed, you could log out you could go to the bed, lie down, log out, and the ship would, when you came back, that's where you'd respawn. And if you didn't have a bed, you could log out, but there was no guarantee. Basically when you'd come back, you'd basically be at a station somewhere, maybe.
And essentially they've alluded to like a rested buff. Like you'll be like a well-rested buff. You won't need to eat and stuff like that. But if you don't, you'll be really hungry because you've essentially been awake the whole time. So, more essentially that if you don't, there'll be negatives and not logging out in the bed, essentially.
But that's as far as we can push it, because that's as far as we know. I don't think they've really said any more than that.
Yeah, they haven't.
I think some of that is us extrapolating a little bit, but yeah.
They haven't elaborated, is essentially what you're saying. Yeah, and I agree with you on that.
So, but you look at the Mustang rework. Originally, the Mustang had the same cargo crate as a standard Aurora, and the CL had the bigger one. And when they did the rework, the Mustang Alpha got the same cargo crate as a CL. But
I think I think you'd agree with me.
Yours need a change.
Yeah, I think you agree with me on this though. But all ships that are out now before the game releases essentially going to get an update. With a few exceptions of the newer ones like the Retaliator and stuff like that. But they're all there's so many ships that need component updates. As an example, the Terrapin was meant to be the ground test bed for components, and he doesn't have components yet. So clearly that changed. Best laid plans, as we said earlier today.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Darkside Gamer says, like Elite, just spawn me and my ship where I logged off, and that's I think that's where they're going to go. Originally, they wanted that feel of okay, I've got the ship with it. I'm an explorer. I want to go out in the back. That's right. I want to be able to log off and then come back. And they had that idea of a bed, whereas the short range ships, the idea was you're tying yourself to the station or a mothership. And I think that was the idea they were going for. But best laid plans, or you plan and what you think, and then when you come to develop it, you go, it's not working. And I think that's probably where they went with bed logging. And we've just got to wait and see what they end up doing. But anyway, Citizen Ninja.
I was just gonna show this real quick, but
No, you do that.
Apparently, Reddit has encountered an error.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the one that inspired it. But it literally came out at the same time as the Ornithopter. So yeah.
But it also came out at the same time as the Scorpius.
Yep.
So and people were saying, "Hey, wouldn't it be great to have that X-wing look?"
Yeah.
On the Aurora, and I got to admit, that would be an absolute. If I was only changing one thing on the Aurora,
well, again,
that'd be it. That's because it looks cool.
Taking the cargo box essentially off the bottom of the Aurora, or the ability to do that as well, it would look more Wasp-like. It would be kind of cool, and it would also allow it to glide in atmosphere. There are several advantages to it doing the Wasp treatment, but I don't think it wants to go into an X-wing like that. I think it wants to be more like this, more like like an insect. Make it its own thing, because quite honestly, where my brain goes is a dragonfly. It's got those two big round docks on the other side. Now, I know I literally just said about the docks going or changing. Look like
dragonfly eyes,
You get where I'm going though, right? Like, again, and if you take the cargo box off the bottom and you have, it goes into more of a tip tail, just like a dragonfly.
Yeah.
So I would redo it so it looks like an actual dragonfly.
Yeah.
But that's where I'd lean into. Yeah.
If you take the cargo box off the back, you know, in terms of length and size, it starts to look very similar to a Scorpius. So
Yeah.
you can also see where that goes. And the Scorpius, when it's landed, pulls its wings back. Part of a reason people went there says when the Scorpius was landed and its wings were back, it looked very much like an Aurora, where they were kind of taking that.
Oh man, if they give it the Mark II treatment and charge like an extra $20,
Oh man, I'll be pissed.
Can you imagine? No, but can you? What the sole reason they won't do that is that just so many people own this thing. I think they just need to go right. We've updated it. It's the Mark II. Free upgrade for everyone that had the Aurora. Because like,
I think you don't say it's a Mark II. You just say this is what the Aurora was always.
Yeah, I think it'll just go. Yeah, here's a free up.
This is the Aurora. This is what it always was, and it's yeah. But
all right,
we live in hope sometimes. Citizen Ninja, how much more costlier do you expect restocking missiles for a Polaris to be than restocking ballistic ammo for a Perseus? Twice as much, more or less?
Don't know. All I remember from the discussions was that a Polaris torpedo was the cost of an Avenger. And that was when it first came out at concept. They talked about the cost of those torpedoes.
I can remember the cost of I don't remember that being the cost of a Polaris missile, but I can remember Javelin torpedoes was said to be an arm and a leg. Working backwards from that. Yeah, it's going to be the case. And even if you look at the size 9 torpedoes for Retaliator or the Eclipse, I think they're 9,000 a pop. So that's not cheap, and that's for the stock standard ones, I think, from memory.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I bought them, but yeah, so you start thinking that, and you go up.
We'll see where it goes.
The ballistic ammo, I'd expect the ballistic ammo to be cheaper, but per unit. But then you're probably buying more.
I don't really have a proper image to explain this, so let's see if I can find one. Hang on. See if I can find one. I'm thinking of an old image, but do you remember the one Algared, right? And it was in a concept image, and I know you would have seen it, where it had the component sizes, and they were essentially just like a grey box, and it had the grey. That's what I'm looking for. And
that's years old.
Yes, but it still shows you just how big the capital ones get. And again, when we're looking at JPEGs, right, you forget often how much bigger these ships are than others.
I remember the classic one where that truck was when we were talking the Carrack versus the Odyssey. And I was thinking, they're the same. And you went, no, Odyssey's so much bigger.
Yeah.
And the second, even though I knew the Odyssey had that size 1 hangar, it still hadn't clicked. And it was when you put them side by side, I went, oh yeah.
I need to open this. Hold on. Yeah, I know you can see it, but they can't see it. All right.
It's a lovely view of all this Star Citizen shit.
So this is probably the closest I can get without going down the rabbit hole and trying to find it. But this is an 8K image that Grim sent me when he rendered off all the ships, because I asked him to do this. I said, can you reduplicate the old YT ship scale images? I know you guys know what I'm talking about. But that truly, until you see the ships next to each other like this, you can't see to get the scale difference, right? And so essentially we are talking a ship that is, oh god, I can't even zoom in on this one. Hang on. Why won't you let me zoom in?
You want to go to RSI, so
I wanted to go to the Avenger to start with.
All right, yep.
But like there's a ship there. They're the Avengers. And we're talking about a ship that is essentially, god, where the hell is RSI now? I can't even find it.
The left, aren't they?
Yeah, there's the Polaris. We're talking about, like, look, there's the Polaris over there. There's the Avenger. Like, it's
and the Auroras are down the bottom line of the RSI next to the name.
Yeah, it just Yeah.
They're minuscule.
Yeah. It's just crazy, the size difference. Like we're talking, the Polaris is bigger than the Reclaimer, you know. I also firmly believe it's probably going to be roughly the same size as the 890 jump. Like, and again, we're talking it from above, but again, let's actually go to the old hangar link, because I can swallow my words here because I'm probably bloody wrong. But if we look at side on, because that's the other part, you've got to look at these things side on as well. 890J as a comparison for what we have now. Why is 890 jump coming? There we go, because he didn't call it 890J, called it 890 jump, and then Titan. Bang. All right, there we go, and select all, delete ship ladles, go sideways. There we go. So yeah, 890 jump is still going to be the biggest ship currently in game, but not even as big as the engines, you know. And then to know that this thing's got 28 torpedoes in this thing, and each one of them costs the price of that, I'd believe that. If you know anything about missiles today, they're not cheap. You know, They are, you know, I think the cheapest missiles are like $100,000 each or some shit. Like, and I'm not talking dumbfire. I'm talking about like the lock-on type. You know, those little rocket-propelled grenades, and that's just like shoots in a straight line. Apparently, they're $20,000 a pop. So, yeah, it's crazy the money that's involved. So yeah. I can only imagine what it's like in the future, but yeah. I can't, well, Agra, you tell me this, right? This might be the biggest ship in the game, but what do you think the Polaris' missiles are going to do to an 890 jump?
The same thing they'll do to any capital ship.
Yeah. Big holes.
Big holes.
Hey, this is my 890 jump, now currently known as the Swiss cheese. You know, like,
I think torpedoes, you'll be able to shoot them down if you see them, but then down the track we're going to have, you know, stealth components on missiles and
absolutely, mate, absolutely.
And that's where those automated defense turrets, I think, that ships are supposed to have, will be great. That's certainly something that we
got a raid. Thank you, Hydrosa. I think he's the guy with the funky glasses, if I'm not mistaken. Wait, let me put on my funky.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put some glasses on just for Hydrosa for the next couple. Oh, no, I can't read anything. How does he play the game with those glasses on? Must be, I don't know, it must be amazing. Thanks for the raid, guys. Appreciate it very much.
Most appreciated. Glad to see you guys.
We're talking about the Polaris as torpedoes and the cost. So the very first thing was when it came out, the Avenger. Each torpedo was the price of an Avenger, and it holds 28 of them. So it's kind of crazy, and that's kind of what's going on with people. So yeah, damn, yeah. I don't know, Algared, anything else? Final thoughts there, or
no? I think that's kind of
answers the question.
Kind of right. I think in terms of how much more expensive will restocking missiles to balancing against the ballistic ammo of a Perseus. I imagine one aspect that would come into it is the damage output that the missile does compared to the damage output that the size 7 round does, and then that would be scaled up to be, you know, the price. You know, I imagine they'd do something like that, but it's chalk and cheese. I know where you want to go, because you want to look at, okay, which ship's going to be more beneficial for me to use in this situation. But again, if you're using a torpedo, that's different from going to a gunfight. You know, like, that's not a knife type idea. You know,
No, I agree. It's not going to be a ship for every situation. You know, no. I think that's the strength of this game. No ship is perfect, but I think every ship is going to have an area where it crosses over with other ships.
Yeah. And there'll be an area where ships excel and an area where they don't. And
again, you know, if you have a more niche ship, like let's another torpedo, the Eclipse. Solo, one person, really tailored its job, but no other ship can really quite do what it does. You know what I mean? You can send the Polaris, but by the same token, you could also put an Eclipse in a Polaris, and that also totally changes that, doesn't it? You know, what's the real attack? Oh, we're going to distract them with the Polaris. Why the Eclipse gets in and actually kills the target, or vice versa. You can see where I'm going with this, right? There's so many strategies. So we haven't even got into that yet. You know, like the depth of the multitude of starting to cross-pollinate all this stuff. We're just trying to lay everything out, and you start to see how complicated it gets really quickly.
You know, you get a Polaris and you've got a Terrapin in there, and suddenly it's got long-range sight. Well, it spots you before you spot it.
That's probably a really good thing. I'm struggling with your name. I was going to call you Morgoth. Oh, shish. I didn't mean to move that. But yeah, if you...
Morgoth, yep.
Algared, what would you prefer? 1 Polaris or 28 Avengers? Because that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? You could have 28 individual Avengers or 1 Polaris. And when you start to think of it like that, that's 28 people, or what's the max? Do you know what I mean? Like, because I remember at one point they were talking about there being 21 crew available in that thing. That still makes that the better option.
Yeah, you're not doing a
not so crazy like that all of a sudden, is it?
Kamikaze pilots in an Avenger. I don't know. Yeah. I think the torpedoes probably got, you know, you'd almost want to make if you want to do kamikaze runs, you'd want to make your ship basically a flying bomb.
Well, you also don't want to do kamikaze because Death of the Spaceman, we're going with this pretty quickly.
Yeah,
again, we've been talking, it's probably what we need to do. Like, I brought it up in the episode we did the other week about the whole safety in numbers thing. Like, you are not going to want to put yourself at risk by going out on your own. Like, we haven't even got into that territory yet. And this kind of came about when we did, the episode was that the most valuable thing is your time. Right? Yep. And now we're starting to see that time investment in cargo. That's going to carry off into other things. You're not going to want to waste your time. And it's just going to be so much easier to do it with other people. 1, you're going to be safer. 2, you're going to get more money out of it. Like, I hate to say the bigger is better, but that's where it's going. Yep. Like, it's always been there, but it's just becoming more and more evident. But if you want to go out and be like John and just sit in his prospector and mine all day, then you go do you. That's totally fine. But that's low risk. You know, John wants that gameplay. He just wants that, I'm out doing my own thing. But again, low effort, low reward. But for John, for him, it's the gameplay on his own. He just enjoys doing that on his own.
Sometimes you just want to do that. Pleasure of relaxation, enjoy life. Des Triz says, doesn't the 600i have something like a battle bridge? I don't believe the 600i does. It's the 890 that's got the battle bridge.
Yeah, you're right. 100%.
Which is the only ship. It's almost a safe room in the center of a ship. With basically.
But you know why, Algared? It's because of all the glass up there. Once the glass starts falling, all the rich people are dead from the glass. Just sheer shattered. It's like stalactites from the roof just go straight through their guts. They're dead. That's why.
But glass is supposed to be as strong as the armor of a ship.
It's supposed to be, but it's shoddy odds in construction. You would never know what you're getting with that thing. Yeah. It's basically duct tape at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like Drake ships. Yeah. Right. Gotcha.
That's why I said it. That's why I give you the opening. Yeah. I had to give you an opening.
Yeah. Enochian says, do you think it is the intention of CIG to have a Mantis quantum dampener? Keep ships from getting up to afterburner speed, or is it a glitch like Herald boosting to 1400 MPS?
So I think he's essentially, from the last time I heard about QED, is that you won't be able to go into nav mode, which means you won't be able to go faster, so you'll be trapped at SCM. So if you want to escape, you can only escape at SCM speeds.
So you've got to take the quantum dampener out to be able to get into, you know.
So the only ships that would probably be even trying to run is if they know they have a higher top SCM speed. And let's be honest, that falls under the interdiction thing. Interdiction ships are probably going to be faster so they can stop you from running. It'll be a natural. It makes sense to me, doesn't it?
You'd have your quantum dampener ship and your QED and your interdiction ships working together to stop. Ships like supposedly stopping ships like the MSR and the Herald running away.
Mantis itself would be fairly fast because it doesn't have the guns, so it's either got to stay around you, but it doesn't want to stay too far away from you at the same time. So you'd have to assume it's more speed orientated as well.
Yep.
And that's with not even me getting it. You're the stats guy, Algared. I would have to get in and actually look at it. I'm just talking pure gameplay here. But
I'm not as stats guy as you think.
you're more stats guy than I am. Out of the two, that's why I always say, out of the two of us, you're the stats guy because I am the stats guy.
Scary thought then.
Yeah.
But the Herald is currently still I do believe still the fastest racing ship certainly for endurance racing. Certainly faster than a straight line. And I could go back and have a look at the data sheets that we've got for Anzius racing. But yeah, I think the Herald is still the fastest ship in most situations.
So Chris brings up the point that they have to enter SCM to turn on the QED, but you can enter SCM instantly. You can't enter nav mode instantly. So if you instantly activate SCM and instantly activate the QED, there's a 25, whatever that range is, they'll work it out, where they'll be able to pull you out and then they'll be able to catch up to you because they're faster than you. They'll have some other mechanic there where they can like if they instantly activate it, it cuts both of you to SCM instantly. They'll work it out. We're going to cut. Well, this is one of the things I'm noticing this year. Like they're redoing the whole flight model, and all the way along, every step, people are complaining. It's like me and Algared have been saying for years. Listen to what they're talking about. They want the final system to be, not what it is now, and that's why me and Algared have always concentrated on release, not on as it goes. And you'll see it with everything because content creators are going to make stuff, right? And so they'll pick up on it and they'll dramatize the shit out of it. Just always remember, don't let them get under your skin. Just keep looking at the release of what they said they're going to do. And yeah, again, I put this back to essentially what someone said in chat right at the very when we're talking about the start of the stream. You guys educate yourselves. You really do, and I'm going to remember that. Just educate yourself. I'll leave it at that.
Aussie Viking says, have you seen the new locations in the PTU? No, I haven't been in the PTU for the last couple of weeks because of work. There are many new locations named S3A FOB1 and S2B FOB6 on all the moons and planets. Some locations have giant tanks you can destroy. Do you know what these locations are for?
Wasn't that for that mission they showed off at CitizenCon where they had essentially like bombing missions and attack missions?
Yep.
That's what he's describing. So I think you're essentially you're describing new mission locations essentially. I have not seen them. I thought initially when you said new locations, I thought he was talking about the cargoes at the outposts, but yeah, again, I'd go back to ISC. There was an ISC just around this time last year where they talked about bombing missions and attacking fuel. I swear there was something like that at CitizenCon. I'd have to go have a look. But yeah, it's a vague, distant memory at this point.
Yep. Yeti says, with the addition of placeable chairs, will they add portable toilets to put in the cargo hold? For Cutlass.
Just gotta step out of the hole for a minute. Gotta use the porta potty, Algared. I'll be right back. Don't go too fast though. I'll fly off.
Yeah, that'd be right. That's what Drake would have for porta potty.
What was that guy's name? What was the toilet guy? The movie? I'll Google it. This is what I'm googling. I'm gonna Google Australian toilet movie. See what comes up.
But yes, I could see that. Given that Connie has been given a portal,
Kenny. Yeah, I remember, and I can't believe that I can Google that and that it knows what I'm talking about because that's how Australians think. Australian toilet movie, Kenny.
Yep. Peter Ware in YouTube also beat you to it. He said Kenny.
Oh, did he?
But yeah, but the fact that the Connie had the Portaloo to service even the Phoenix has a Portaloo to service all the luxury guests and the crew. You certainly the chair for a Drake ship would be a bucket. But yeah, it's pretty sad. Anyway, that was me going on to a very bad tangent.
We are down to Oh, what, 5 questions, Algared? We've got 4 minutes. Man, we have really stretched today. So if you want to get some more questions in, please feel free.
No, it's 9:26. We've done. We've considering we had so few questions, we've stretched for conversation.
Yep. I didn't think we'd last this long, to be honest with you. So yeah.
Yeah, but you always underestimate how long we'll go.
We did get off topic quite a few times, though. Yeah.
We did, but you always underestimate how long we'll go.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Mac 1000 says, think the Zeus will fit an Ursa. I don't think it will. I have to go back to the original size.
Yeah, I have to go back to the original size and the cargo hold. I'm going to say no, because from memory, the Zeus was kind of like a freelancer.
Yeah, and the only version of the freelancer was the Max, and that was specifically designed to do so.
And the other thing that came out with the Zeus is the Zeus CL probably could, but again, the thing that made the Zeus CL, I think, inferior to a freelancer Max is the fact that you can't get to the components once you fully load it.
Yeah.
And so yes, you can take the extra cargo, but
wasn't it that from memory, right? And I know we're only talking about a year ago here, but from memory, wasn't it that the problem was the door clearance is what I remember it being?
Yeah.
It was something to do with the door at the back wasn't high enough or something. Oh, where the hell is the brochure on this thing? I'm looking for the link. I can't find it. There's a little... There it
I
is.
would imagine you're all seeing that in the Q&A. Would have asked about the...
Right, here we go.
Door.
No, it was in this brochure. No, it wasn't the brochure. God damn it, where was it? It was a little schematic is what I'm trying to find. And it showed it was an image. You used to click
the one
on
that showed the interiors of the
3 different versions. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, but it's not
and the one of a cargo bay and you could see where the things were.
Oh, here we go. Wait. Yeah, here we go. Right. So there's the it's the angle is going to be the issue, and the one we just want to look at is the CL interior. There we go. Yeah, and can I open that in a new tab? Yes, I can. There we go. So physically, I would say that could fit an Ursa, but it really comes down to the back door, because if you again,
can you get the Ursa into that back door, and is the height clearance good enough for it?
Yeah.
And that the never decisions that we don't know.
I wonder if I can all right, so there you go. Yeah.
So someone's saying it does. I'll look at it.
No. That's actually a Cyclone.
All right.
And I don't know if that's the ES or what version that is. It just says I doubt it. Unlikely. It's really Cyclone and smaller. Love to be able to fit a Storm MR. So this is again just people's opinion, because there's no official statement on it. Clearly.
But when you look at it and consider that the cargo size is comparing it to a freelancer, and the CL is kind of like your Max, and but the cargo capacity gets really you don't. I can't see anyone really wanting to stock their cargo in a CL to the gills so that you can't get to the component base.
Yeah.
And so, that's that whole risk reward aspect in just there.
Yeah. Well, if you look here at the wall, Algared, essentially as I flick between the two versions, that's essentially what's moving. It's not really any difference in height.
No,
there's no difference in the door.
And again, it's the length, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think the determining factor will be the gap in the door, and knowing that that's on an angle. So you got to remember it's angled. When that comes down, it's a lot less than it appears to be. So I would say Cyclone, but I would not. I don't think it'll be Ursa, just based on previous ships. Now, physically, could it fit? Yes. But also, look what they did recently, for example, with the Ironclad Assault and the Ironclad, right? One literally had an area shortened so you could have the larger ones come in, and then they deliberately made it longer so you couldn't have the larger ones come in. You know what I mean? It's like it was an artificial.
Another way to look at it is the way in which the current Starfarer is. Is the Starfarer cargo bay big enough for an Ursa? But can you get them into the cargo bay with ease? No, because of the angle of the ramp and the clearance of the top.
Yep.
It's the same with. It'll be the same here. You might have the space, but can you get it physically through the door?
Yeah. Now, the one caveat I will say to that, and I think I would agree with me, clearly the Zeus has changed, right, from what we've learned from today. So I think that the safe place to leave this is no for now, but they may have given it the MSR treatment. You know how the MSR grew in size or something like that?
Well,
I don't think it's going to grow in size, but they might have gone, well, if we just make this door a little taller, then maybe we can put an Ursa in there. And maybe they decided that
you will.
Maybe that's what the difference between the CL becomes and the others. Like they go, all right, so this can have an Ursa. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but I'm saying leave it open enough that they may change things.
It was either, you'll remember, it was either the Corsair or the MSR that originally had a turret system like the Connie, and they put the access right in the middle of the door entrance. I think it was the MSR, and the reason they said that is they basically said, we don't want you putting vehicles in there. That was the reason they gave. It was a stupid reason. But they were trying to say, no, well, you can't put vehicles in because you've got this access to the turrets. I'm glad they got rid of it, in whichever ship it was. But it was that kind of, they wanted to differentiate it from the Connie, and so they were trying to limit that.
Well, essentially, I think from what we remember from the extra cargo in this, is you're talking about 8 SCU. You got to give up 8 SCU to get access to those components.
Yeah, and I'd be quite happy to give up 8 SCU to make sure I could access my components.
Yeah, and I think it pretty much put it directly back in line with the Freelancer Max or something. I remember when we talked about it, they literally went back in perfect alignment.
Yeah. Now going back to that, I think the CL, the Zeus CL, will be one where you, because of that, you're taking 8 SCU less cargo, you'll want to manually load it, because I think if you go the automatic loading, it's going to fill up the whole base.
Yep.
And so you won't have access to those.
Well, not really, because you can literally say, I only want 120 SCU of cargo. Bang. You may then have to move it around to fit. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
But they may also see that and go, well, prioritize this last.
Yep.
They can do that. Quality of life, maybe down the road. You're right, though.
But
that may be something they forget. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how the Zeus pans out at the end of the day, Algared. I know you and I did a lot of stuff into it when we talked about these 9 months ago now. Odd. But
well, I've got a Zeus. I've got the original Zeus. I know you've got the original Zeus.
Yeah.
It's only, you know, for our characters, it's only yay big. But...
Yeah. But again, there you can already see it's changed. It's not the same as the other Dorito ships, and well, look here, the engine's square. The engine now looks round and stuff like that. So we'll see where it's going. And they did say in one of the ISCs that the Zeus is now at a different level. Like it set a new standard for quality of ships. That Montreal or Behavior, well, not Behavior, sorry, Turbulent smashed out of the park.
If they've raised the standard of ships, that's mind blowing. Because you look at like even the early ships, you look at the ships, and the standard of them was always high.
Yep.
And it staggers me when you think that ships are coming out, and we look at the old ships and we go, they're shit, but they're not. Bloody awesome
compared to most games. No, you know. So
we are spoiled.
I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a really great addition to the game. I'm just, like I said, I'm curious to find where it sits, like how, because you and I kind of broke it down to two things, didn't we? We think it's it's either very similar to the Freelancer, as in, if you look at the Cutlass, it's clearly the attack one. If you look at the Spirit, it's clearly the speed one. And then when you look at the Freelancer, it's like, well, the Freelancer's either directly in the middle, and that makes the Zeus the tank, or the Freelancer's like a shield tank, and this is like an armor tank, right? Yeah. Either way, it's the Freelancer's the one that moves, not this one. So this is clearly the tank. And that's just based on the stats that me and Algared saw. The way this thing doesn't have as good of flight characteristics as the others, and like it doesn't go as fast, but that also leads into the fact that it's got heavier armor and stuff like that. And we saw that even when you went in game between the Freelancer Max and the other Freelancer variants, it didn't turn half as well as the other two.
It was sluggish.
Boy, in a freaking straight line, because it had those 2 extra engines, it was just so much faster. But yeah, it couldn't turn worth a damn at all, and it makes sense because it was wider. And
that was certainly our experience, like the feeling we had when we were in game doing the Freelancer. I think we did that at the same time we were looking at doing that video. Whether it was actually the case, but that was certainly what we felt as we were doing that.
Yeah, and that's just in game. That's just in game right now. None of those are finals. That's all before the whole rework and that. So they were just kind of, I don't want to say fudge numbers, but like preemptive numbers. So yeah, I'm just interested to see where this all comes out. And the last thing I'll end this on is the Zeus ST. I think they're going to come around again too. Like, again, knowing there's only 2 ships from that silhouette video left to go, the Advanced Starter and the Fat Fury or the Guardian, and knowing that Mirai are combat and racing, and we don't have the Zeus ST, but we know it exists, and this is coming out at the same time, I think we're getting the Mirai Guardian, or the, whatever we'll call it, Fat Fury, and we'll get a combat and racing variant of that. And they'll also go, oh, by the way, the Zeus ST's for sale. Oh, and by the way, the jump points now work. Oh, and now, by the way, you can race from one side of Stanton to the other side of Pyro. It makes so much sense. And we also heard of 2 other variants of known, I can't remember the exact wording. I think it was known medium vehicles. I think that's what they said, or known vehicles. But again, if they went back and say did a Spirit variant, and I think the other one I'd have to pick would be a 450R. I think it makes a lot of sense to do a variant of the 400. They're the 2
variants.
You reckon they'll do a 450R?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Out of all the other medium ships, so out of the Cutlass, and the Freelancer and the 400i, that's the most racy of the 3.
When you look at the Origins naming progress with their ships, you know, the 300, the 325, the 315p, I could see the 400 getting exactly the same treatment. And the 400 really should be the 415p.
Well, I've just realised, Algared, it can't be the Freelancer, because that's MISC. And the Mirai, you see where I'm going with this, that's their other side. So it can't be a Freelancer. So that literally narrows it down to the Cutlass or the 400i.
Yep.
Because the Spirit's the obvious one because of the speed. So if it's 2 variants, it'd be the and they said known variants. That's what that was what it was. Known variants. So or known ships or something like that. So yeah, it's got to be the 400 and it's got to be the Spirit.
I could see them doing the Cutlass, and I could see them doing the 400 the 400, because both you know that for whatever reason, Drake and Origin polarize people.
But also, I'm going to use your own law. I'm going to use your own law against you. The Mercury Star Runner has a racing variant.
Yep.
Spirit is known for racing and running. It's in the name. But yes, I get your point on the polarizing thing. But Drake don't have a racer. The closest thing they have is a Herald, and they don't actually have a racing ship of any description.
But when you look at Origin. The way they've done all their ships in the past, they've all, the 450, the 315, the 150, you've got, you clearly expect there should be a 415p, a 450R,
all right,
425A.
Let's just speculate on that for a minute. If you were gonna take the standard 400i, what would you do with it?
Well, strike.
It just become, well, I'm looking at the Zeus ST, right, and what you and I talked about it. Essentially, I think you'd have to upgun it slightly.
Yep.
Slightly, right? And then you'd probably want better access to the cargo bay, maybe potentially. I don't know how warranted that is. And then obviously you'd have to have better engines on it. So does it give up cargo bay to get more engines or something?
If you upgun it and give it better armor, then it's a 325. Then it's a 425A.
You don't need the climate controlled cargo anymore.
Nope. No,
So
that becomes ammo storage or missile storage.
Well, I was saying maybe that's where the engines go. I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
Larger internal components for the shields, or
more shielding. Well, again, Origins are flying.
And then
Origins are flying safe rooms. So yeah, I agree.
And then you go. Okay, we're doing a racing variant, so we're doing a 450p. What do you do? A 450. A 450R? What do you do to it? If you're doing it, so I think the 400 currently is a 450 is the 415p.
You can only look. Yeah, I agree with you on that. You look back at the other two, right? So I'm talking M50 and 350R. They're the other two Origin racing variants. There's no others, is there, that I'm aware of? What are their hallmarks? And it's just essentially the only one you can really look at is the 350R, because it's the only other one that's got other ships in its series, right? So it was up engine. That's the main thing. It still kept the bed and all that stuff. It really just got a big engine. Oh, and it was black and gold, and that doesn't mean anything because the M50's red. So do we make it? We can't make it black and red because that's the combat colors.
Well, if you consider that the M50 and the 85X were kind of parallel builds as ships they were thinking of, and I'm talking lore for the 890 jump snub. You could almost say the 85X and the M50 are the same family.
Yeah. Whereas
the M50 is the racing variant, and the 85X is, I don't know, a dual cab taxi. And the big difference there is the engine size. Massive engine on the M50 compared to the ship. It's equal. So
yeah, I kind of go to the 400i and I start to think of all the things that you could cut to like make, because this is the big detriment to the 400i is essentially is a large ship that's in a medium-sized category, right? And they're not going to do a drastic rework, but what I think they could do is almost do the armor trick, like with the Starfarer and stuff like that, and they go, it's got a carbon fiber body or something like that, and it lowers the weight drastically.
Yeah, carbon fiber body, or it's got extra armor. It's got better weapons.
Well, maybe they go the other way where it's got less armor. Do you know what I mean? So it's given up armor to go faster. So it just gives
racing.
Yeah. So it loses the armor to gain shields or something like that. You know. So they drop the weight, but maybe it's got twice the shields, but it's got no next to no armor or something.
Isn't that something I'm going on memory? And I could have this totally wrong, but isn't that more or less what they said with the 350R, that it had less armor along with the bigger engine, so it could go faster. But
I did reach out. I don't know if Tom's watching, but I did reach out to Tom Bossenhauer. Is a real life racer, and I thought what we might do before CitizenCon, before the Zeus comes out and stuff like that. I want to see if I can get them together, yourself, Echo Bit, and Tom, and just sit down and talk out with them the thoughts on long distance endurance racing. I thought that would be a good episode we could do, but I can't get Tom to commit to it. He's going to be the hardest one to get. Echo Bit is in the same time zone as us, so and we both know him, so I knew that wouldn't be a problem. But that's an episode I'd like to do before we have.
It'll be easier to get Echo to join us than Tom, because same time zone.
Well,
South African, isn't he?
So no, he's like
Brazilian or somewhere like that.
God, he's going to kill you when he talks to you next. No, he's from Czech Republic. Way more in the northern
side of the world. Other side of the world, many miles away.
Northern hemisphere, not southern. He's when we kind of do stuff the Space Tomato at 3 p.m. that's 7 a.m. in the morning for him. So he's like an hour behind Space Tomato. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll have to probably do like maybe we'll do 7:30 for him would work out, because that'd make it like 10 a.m. for him. So, you know, I'll work out a time with him and we'll try and get that done. But yeah, Zeus is going to be an interesting addition. I think when I start to think of the Guardian, I just can't. When you see what's from Mirai and knowing that the only ships that we have from Mirai currently are combat and racing, and when you the one I always forget is the other half of the Mirai equation is MISC.
Yeah.
Right. And when you add that, you've got to detract that all from Mirai, and that's why Mirai becomes so thin. And when Mirai is that thin, it tells you what they're going to do. And when racing and combat is all they've got, and you know it's coming.
Right, they can either just do, there is only one variant of a ship, so a combat ship. I suppose if you do combat, you could do combat. It's a missile ship. It's a gunship. That, you know, so you can.
So essentially, it becomes so essentially it's a heavy fighter, and the only other variant that they could add other than a heavy fighter is a racing variant, which then puts it in league with these guys, because the heavy fighters of that size are technically in the medium class. So essentially, I think that's where it's going. And that's why I came back to the Zeus ST. The Zeus ST, and then what I knew about Mirai, it is two massive dots, but it just, there's no other place you can go, because that's what they've said. Combat, racing. Anyway.
You could just stick with, stick with the one. You could say, well, we're not doing the racing aspect. We're just
absolutely.
But
then you go, but what was the Zeus ST for? You see what I mean? Like, and the Zeus, they're not going to make a single racing ship to race itself, are they? So they've made a whole new category of racing ships. And I had people like I brought this up on Board Gamer had a stream, and I should say I threw it at him, but I didn't throw it at him. But I threw all this stuff at him. And I said, what's your conclusion on this? And he had totally forgot about the Zeus ST. He literally went to his notes and he said, a Zeus variant, and that's all it said in his notes. And I said, and I sent him the images, like, because you can literally Google it. Like, you can go, I don't know, I'm trying not to close things here. What is it? Zeus ST. If it helps if I spell Zeus, and then ST star citizen bang, and it's like one of the first images that come up. And there it is, right there, bang. Is this is what I sent him, and he had totally you know, not picking on him, right? I'm just saying, like, people have forgot. And
when you've been doing the Star Citizen coverage for as long as
we all have, and
then as long as he has, you can't remember everything.
And then I said, think about fins. All the latest racing ships have fins. It's just What? M35s? Why have you got M35s flying over your head? No, an M35 is why have you got combat aircraft flying over your head, Pete? That's a bit worrying. Everything's fine. I'm now sitting. Pete's on the ground doing this, and the doggo's just there patting his paw on his back, going, "You'll be fine, Pete. You'll be fine."
That's okay, Pete. Don't worry.
It's okay. You'll be fine.
Look, as long as you're not in, some war zone,
Yeah, just sounds like I'm worried about coming to CitizenCon now. I don't think we're going to survive that. We have to put on our combat gear before we leave.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I don't know. You can, this was removed for the website, but I think you can see someone had a plan. Let's not sell this essentially when there are no other races to go with it. Someone's come out and said that, and that's why it was retracted. It's really obvious.
Right, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think, look, Eve,
we'll put it this way.
Do they need...
The only two variants that have a turret is this one and that one. And that's why so many people don't think that this is a racer. It's like, but my mind instantly went to the pod racing and the
Look,
the Tuscan Raiders.
Yeah, Tuscan Raiders. I tend to think
that's their official name, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to think if CIG don't put out or have a ship for endurance racing, it's not going to matter, because I can guarantee you when they've got jump points, there will be long distance races going between point A and point B and back.
And the transient jump points only make that more interesting.
So I can fully see that. So and if CIG know that's going to happen, and they know from the fact that you got people like Ecobit and Zeus and the race around Stanton, the Stanton 7, and the Daymar Rally. They know that people are also doing endurance stuff.
I also think the prices reflected on that, because remember when the prices came out, these two middle ones were exactly the same, and it was really odd because then there was a massive jump to $190 to get to the marquee mark. And I said to you at the time, I reckon this is the one that was originally planned.
It's smack bang in that middle slot.
Yeah.
So that's our thinking, that and that's kind of why. And I know people bag you out all the time for constantly selling this endurance racing.
And I'm not even a racing guy.
And he's not a racing guy. He's not. I'm the racing guy, and I agree with the chat. I'm the more racing guy, and I think, oh X, come on.
All right, they're telling me to shut up. All right, I'll move on. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
But I think you're right. Like, I don't tell you to shut up when you're doing it, because I think there is a logic there that makes sense. Yeah. And I think CIG look at what players are doing now. Endurance racing, Daymar Rally, endurance racing in Crux Cup, endurance racing with the Stanton 7. There's 3 different organisations, 3 different main racing things that are going on that are more than just your sprints. And CIG are going, okay, yeah, we'll put out chips that are doing endurance racing. I can go.
I just think it really lines up with jump points. It's a really good way to sell the traversing of the two systems.
So I could see them doing it. Could it be something else? Yeah, absolutely. But to me, it makes sense. Anyway, moving on. Johnny Mendoza has a question. Have you ever met Chris Roberts? And if so, and if yes, do explain your experience?
I'll let you take.
Well, I know you've met, and
I've met him very, but I'll let you tell your story first.
So I met him at CitizenCon, not CitizenCon, at PAX Australia. My experience with Chris and Sandy, I spoke to Sandy more than Chris, but my experience helping at PAX is when you saw Chris and Sandy interacting in the green room outside of public, it was no different from what he's like on stage or in public. My claim to fame is that at PAX Australia, I got them to get the guys in cosplay up on stage, because as Chris and Sandy and Erin were talking, I said, you really want to get... And Chris was what? And said, oh, yeah, those guys. And Chris booted me outside and made me look for them, along with 2 or 3 other people. So, but yeah, Chris is no different behind the scenes, from my experience, than when he's on stage. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
He is 100% fair dinkum.
Yeah. I met him at the same time, but my experience was obviously a little different, because I got to sit down with him for an hour and a half and interview him. It was on the final day. They were closing up, or the second day maybe it was. I can't remember. And they were closing up, and it was just me and him in the hall as everyone was kind of fading out. And we just sat there and talked, and I just asked him question after question for an hour and a half. And yeah,
because you were doing the
Star Signal,
the radio,
back then.
Star Signal back then.
Yeah, and and no one had really interviewed him at that point. I kind of echo what you said. He's a very genuine person, and I think the word I would use, and I don't know if you agree with this, but his passion just absolutely comes through. He's long-winded like yourself, annoyingly so, as people would have seen. As some people like that, right? But it's like when him and Rich and Tyra were together, and they left him a half an hour segment, and they talked for 2.5 hours at CitizenCon last year. So you're getting what we're talking about. He's not succinct and to the point. He's very much a person about detail, but as I said, exceptionally passionate.
I loved when I loved the interview that they did. The best interview I've seen with Chris was the one with Sandy.
Yeah, agreed.
Where Chris is going off on a tangent, and Sandy says, "Yeah, tell me in basic stuff." And just the way she could reel him back in was just
She knows
awesome.
She knows how to handle it as his
Yeah.
wife 100%. Yeah, just
But
Yeah.
the other one that really struck was that picks up his passion was when we were talking to Sandy and she talked about, oh yeah, Chris still gets on and codes at night, you know, and codes this and
do you know who can handle him as well? Is the girls.
Yeah.
Dad, what are these damn NPCs standing on chairs for?
Yeah. Fixture. Beep.
Yeah, you know, like so they've definitely got their mum's sense of Australianism. We'll just call it that.
Yeah. The audience said we have no evidence that Algared is long-winded because he doesn't get a chance to finish his sentences.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Oh, that's harsh.
Well, if I wasn't here to rein him in and he wasn't here to rein me in, then we'd both be unchecked, wouldn't we? So
yeah. I will tell you, I am long-winded.
But again, we've learned to embrace that because it's. I don't know about you, Algared. Like, I can't speak for you, but I know I kind of generally know how you feel. But hanging out with you has made me appreciate not just what I have, but it's made me appreciate things that you have as well. You know what I mean? So I can see the weaknesses in myself, but then also appreciate the strengths that I have. Is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
I think certainly for the channel, we're a good yin and yang.
Yeah.
We're not the same. If we were the same, it'd be bloody boring.
We're the odd couple, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. We've learned to embrace that, haven't we? God, I got him singing again. Yeah.
I'm Felix, obviously, and you're
I'll just nod and go, yes, old person that's just aged themselves. I have no idea what you're talking about. I know it was this TV show, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And one was always prim and proper and dressed in a suit, and the other was a slob. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So we literally are the odd couple, the YouTube odd couple. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? We should really mix it up at CitizenCon. I'll put on a suit and you can come as a slob. We'll see how that goes.
As Isaac says, and the other thing that ties in with, and I think this is 100% accurate, is that Isaac says, and you're both 100% real.
Yep.
And I think it's one of the reasons we don't like editing. We like the raw because the second you edit, you lose that realism of that conversation.
Well, it's even when we have to redo something, like something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
Like you guys don't know this, but sometimes we will post the original episode on Patreon, right? And I can't even remember what the episode was. I think it was an ISC, Algared, and it was the first time this had happened in a really long time. But if I forget to turn the noise filter off, it essentially flattens all the audio in the video. And it was really weird. The second time we redid it, it felt so flat. It felt so crappy. Yet then
the first time felt really, really good.
And it felt shorter. But then when I looked at the recording, it was actually longer.
Yep.
I was like, what the hell just happened? You know, and it just didn't feel as good because we've already talked about it. All those natural things that exuberantly come out of us because we're excited to talk about it, they all fall flat because we already know the topic and we know the thoughts that the others got. And it's like, as you were saying earlier, and it's literally because we did the whole conversation. Yeah. And the jokes don't hit the same way, like, you know, or something that we've said, just it's like, and to me that just I know you guys don't see that, but from our point of view, that enhances what Algared said about the rawness of it. I like it being raw like that, and it just makes it more genuine. There is obviously an advantage to highly editing it, where it's more succinct and to the point.
And there's certainly an advantage, as you know, Dark Side Gamer saying, you know, raw is good. I like organic conversations over scripts, and there's advantage of scripts as well, because you don't forget those key points you want.
Which is why we bullet point a lot of things.
Sometimes we bullet point, but it's certainly we like the organic, we like the unscripted, we like the unedited, because that's. But again, you get to see what we're on about.
But again, some people just want a 5-minute video, and that's why we kind of try to do different ones now. So we're trying to, like, the normal standard show is probably come the middle ground now. then we have these streams that go for 3 hours, which is kind of our long form content, and then the IRC stuff is the more kind of short. But even those now are getting to 40 minutes as well. So
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. We've often talked about doing like a a super succinct once a week news show that's scripted, but it's just never ever eventuated because we just don't feel like the game is really there yet, and we kind of already talk about that in our other things. And to make it succinct enough, it'd almost have to drop back to one of us. So like I do it one week, Algared does it the next, and it's just not our thing either, I think, anymore. I think I don't know about you, Algared, but I've become more, as time's gone by, I've become more reliant on you, not less.
And ditto.
Yeah.
Like we do rely on each other to bounce ideas and bounce thoughts and bounce even our conversation is become reliant on each other.
Yeah. And again, going back to what I said about strengths and weaknesses, I know Algared's strengths, and so if I want an opinion that I know I will go to him and say, Algared, what do you think of this? You know, or I write a letter to someone at CIG. I'll say, Algared, check this for me, because I know I know my weaknesses, and I know he will look at it and go, oh yeah, that's good, or that's bad, or whatever, and stuff like that. Because I used to be really impulsive, and I'll just go blah, 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 and I'll make mistakes. But Algared's not like that. He's more reserved and takes his time. So I will, just as a strength that he has, he has slowed me down. Let's just put it that way.
And I got to admit, and it drives you nuts even when we're talking normally. I have to, if I've got an idea, I've got to go through the process and go methodically work through the steps to get to that end point, just for my own thinking.
And I'm literally sitting there because often it's just voice going.
And he'll go, and he'll cut me off, and then I'll go back and I'll start again. Yeah. And I'll say, no, you've done that. I've got to finish. Let me finish.
Just how it is.
So we drive each other nuts, but yeah. Anyway, last 2 questions. Last 3 questions. No, last 3 questions. So, ray guns.
I'll cut off the bot now because we're 4 minutes out. So, yeah, bot's gone.
Yeah, we're Bert and Ernie. There you go.
Oh, God.
Hey, Bert.
Hey, Bert. So, wait.
Hey, Bert.
No, you're Bert because you've got the long cone head. I'd be Ernie, the little chubby fat one. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you're Bert. I'm
Bert.
Ernie. You're the one. Look, you're definitely the one with the pigeon obsession. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I don't have pigeons.
No, but you would be if you were Bert and Ernie.
Okay, Raygun 972 says, "Ooh, sneak peek of the week. What do you guys think?"
We went over that.
We did.
We can quickly go over it very. I'll let you say this while I'm looking for someone to rage on.
All right. I'll be radically very quick. We think initially we think Crusader, and then we go the Zeus.
Yeah.
We think it's the Zeus.
Very succinct review. I am having an effect on me. He's able to say things quickly. Yeah.
All right. Next. All right. Medical Walker says, greetings from Puerto Rico. What would make a better daily driver, the Zeus ES or the 600i Explorer?
Wait, say that again. Zeus ES.
What? Or the 600i Explorer.
Which would be what? Which would be the better Explorer of those two?
No, better daily driver. The ES or the 600i. At the moment, the 600i, because it's the only ship that's out.
Yeah, and if it's only those two, once they are out, I'd have to say the ES, just because the 600i is kind of
more expensive. And it needs a rework.
Then there's the other question: is how many people are you daily driving with?
Yep.
So essentially it's a Constellation competitor that's a whole size larger.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go either of those for a daily driver. I think I'm going to be honest with you, they're either side of the daily drivers, right? To me, most of the daily drivers are it comes down to people, right? That changes it, right? But for me, the middle ground is generally like the Corsair, the MSR, the Connie. They're the ones, right, that I think scale better, right? But it is going to be those things like the Cutlass, the Spirit, the Freelancer, and the Zeus that are also in there. So I'm going to be honest with you, they all fall into daily drivers, but you've picked ones on the extreme sides.
Yeah, I see the Zeus on one side of a Connie and the 600 on the other side, and they're
Actually, I think that's not a terrible piece of advice Citizen Ninja has said there, right? Based on the two ships he said, 400i.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on those two, 400i. Go Origin. There you go. You've just heard Execute favor an Origin ship over.
Oh, I'm just saying based on what. Yeah. Well, what you're hearing is me tailoring a ship to someone's needs.
Yeah,
that's taking myself out of it. You know.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Of those two ships, the Zeus is the smaller one. 600 is too big. Best daily drivers in the middle.
Yeah.
And the last question: what do you mean by bed logging is changing? And we already did that question earlier. And it's basically the idea that used to be you would go to bed, log out, and come back in the game. Whereas if you logged out just in the seat, don't know what would happen to you. You'd probably end up at a station. They're changing that. They're changing the way you log out, you log back in. And that changes what beds do. And that means any ship, any small ship, especially fighters, or like the Aurora and the Mustang Delta and Beta. Those ships, the purpose of their bed changes. So what you need, if the bed is a massive part of a ship's function, how does that ship change? And so that's where that whole discussion goes through. But yeah, and that's our last question.
I do not know how to raid on Twitch. There is no one that I know other than Flexi, and Flexi is German. There is
anyone who is doing Star Citizen. There you go.
Well, yeah, find me someone on Twitch that they know, because I don't know anyone, and I'm down to like 4 viewers on some of these things. I'm not picking holes on people. I just don't know.
Yes, the prisoner. I am aware the Delta doesn't have a bed. I was meaning the Beta.
We're gonna raid Zero State. He just came online.
There you go.
Here's a name I knew, and this will kick him off. He's going to get bigger than us anyway. He'll take over the whole thing. So, yeah. Say hello to Zero State for us. Make sure you... ask him if he's come to CitizenCon. Would he like to have a beer with me and Algared? Would he like to join in? And I'll be along in a bit to have a chat with him, see how he's doing. Tell him I'll be along in a bit. Right. With that then, YouTube, say goodbye to Twitch. Twitch should go bye. Blah, 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 blah. Bye, YouTube.
By the way.
All right. Bye-bye. And they're gone. Right.
They're gone.
If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone that went that extra mile at the end of the video on Patreon. Thank you for joining us. It's been very pleasurable having you all here today. I actually had a really good stream. I thought this was going to be very short. Turned out it was quite enjoyable.
Told you would make it.
Yeah. Forever the optimist you are. I'm the negative one, clearly. Right.
Yeah, always.
All right, then.
Anyway,
with that, he's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens. I want to go back to bed.